the shadow of the magnificent Bohemian magic tower, a place of dreams and power. A man's life is fading away. A weak, muffled cough echoes through a dark room, the sound of a body pushed far beyond its limits. In a dimly lit laboratory, a voice cuts through the air, sharp with annoyance. "Get a grip, you pathetic fool. I'm just getting started, so don't you dare faint on me." They decide to inject him with the stimulant one last time. A raw scream of agony tears through the room as the drug floods his system. A calm voice clinically observes the result. 461 seconds. The new reagent is clearly an improvement. They remark on how much better the results are with a talented subject. Below them, a young man named Verdun lies face down, broken and bleeding. He's the talented subject. This is the Bohemian Magic Tower, the most respected institution in the entire empire. Robed mages surround Verdun, who hangs suspended by chains. They discuss how the stimulant activated his magic circle while suppressing his body's defenses, casually suggesting they add a memory-expanding drug next. Watching over it all is an older man with a severe expression. The Magic Tower Master, Balrog Bessias, the strongest man in the empire and the architect of this entire nightmare. Verdun can only gasp for air, feeling his life slipping away. "I'm dying," he thinks slowly. His blurry gaze drifts across the lab, past the strange liquids in vials and beakers. A single question burns in his mind. Why? He looks at a glass case filled with squirming ants, and the question repeats itself. How did he, a man once praised as a genius, end up like this? An ant crawls out of the case. A voice says, "Good now." The order is given to forcefully manifest the stimulant. Verdun's eyes fly open as another wave of unbearable pain courses through him. A desperate scream tears from his throat, begging them to stop. He pulls against his chains, the metal digging into his raw wrists, but they hold fast. The Tower Master just clicks his tongue. He's so noisy. He turns to his subordinates, telling them to report when the experiment is over before walking away without a second glance. Verdun's body goes limp, hanging from the chains as blood trickles down his skin. He just can't understand. Why is he dying here? In the Magic Tower, the one place he had always dreamed of being. A sharp voice snaps him back to reality. "Hey, you pathetic fool, get a grip on yourself." A hand grabs him by the hair, yanking his head up with a pained groan. A young mage with curly blonde hair smirks down at him. "How are you feeling, Verdun?" he asks, his voice dripping with mockery. He sneers about how Verdun used to act so high and mighty, praised for his mind but cursed with zero magical talent. The blonde mage, Weller, grins cruelly. He tells Verdun this is what he deserves, to have his life force and knowledge drained away in this secret lab. Weller shoves him back, taunting him. "Come on, talk away like the smart guy you are," he scoffs, seeing that Verdun is too weak to even respond. In this state, he probably can't even pass out. But Verdun isn't looking at Weller. His eyes are fixed on something else. "Hey," Weller growls, "are you even listening to me? Are you deaf?" he yells, getting right in Verdun's face. "Where are you looking?" One of the other mages finally sees the problem. The experimental ants are loose. Weller explodes, screaming at them for their incompetence. One of them apologizes, but Weller is furious, kicking him and calling them all idiots. Weller glances back at Verdun with contempt, muttering that he's basically an insect himself, too weak to break a single chain. But then a grin spreads across his face. A good thing, too. Thanks to Verdun, they have a top-tier experimental subject. Verdun's mind is screaming. Why? He overhears the mages gossiping about his friend Revelin, who was sponsored to study abroad. They pity her for having a friend like him. Verdun's mind repeats the question, for what reason? He watches one of the ants on the floor crushed and bleeding, and then in a moment of horrifying clarity, he understands. "Oh, I see." A grim, broken smile creeps onto his lips. He finally gets it. Everything that's happening right now. He starts to mumble something. Weller turns to him, annoyed. "What? What are you mumbling about?" Suddenly, adrenaline floods his system. With eyes glowing with pure, unadulterated hatred, Verdun screams, "Shut your mouths, you monsters!" His mind is perfectly clear. The reason for all of this suffering, it's because he's weak. His life flashes before his eyes, starting 15 years ago. He remembers growing up in an orphanage with only one dream, to become an incredible mage. He entered the magic tower as a normal worker, hoping to learn magic on the side, but no matter how hard he tried, he could never succeed. It was all because he was born with a growth limit of rank D. The mage compatibility test he took at 7 years old had sealed his fate. The word talentless was a death sentence for a boy who dreamed of nothing else. But even so, he couldn't give up. It was his only dream. While working as a laborer, he would secretly study the spellbooks left behind in the rooms he cleaned. He devoured every book in the tower's massive library. He knew he lacked magic power, but when it came to intelligence, he was sure he could beat anyone. A few years passed. His hard work paid off. His intellect was finally recognized, and he became a researcher at the magic tower. People started calling him a genius. Another researcher, reading his work, was completely blown away. He told Verdun he was more than a genius, that even the tower master would acknowledge his work. It was then that Verdun realized a truth he hadn't known himself. His intelligence wasn't just a talent, it was on the level of a true genius. He thanks his colleague Lucard for his help in proving his thesis. But as he does, Lucard's reaction seems just a little off. Lucard asks if he's the first person to see the thesis. Verdun confirms it with a smile, telling him he's the only one he's shared it with. "Is that so?" Lucard says, and in that moment a cup is knocked over, spilling dark ink across Verdun's hard work, a dark omen of the betrayal to come. Verdun was so happy back then. He thought that with the acknowledgement of his only friend in the research department, he could finally stay at the magic tower as a true scholar. Or so he thought. That hope shattered when Lucard presented Verdun's thesis as if it were his own. By the time Verdun found out, it was too late. The stolen research had already reached the tower master. He remembers desperately pleading his case. He burst into the office, shouting that the thesis was his, that it had gone missing right before the presentation, only for Lucard to submit it under his own name. The tower master, Balrog Besias, listened calmly. He asked if Verdun was claiming to be the author of the multidimensional continuity theory. Verdun thought a man of his stature would surely see the injustice. Full of hope, Verdun eagerly agreed, asking for a chance to explain. But the tower master simply replied, "How surprising." Balrog looked at him with an unnerving intensity. "I had no idea such a talent was hidden among the regular researchers." The expression on his face wasn't one of justice, but of discovery. Verdun thinks back with bitter regret. If only he hadn't gone to the tower master that day. Balrog had placed a hand on his shoulder, inviting him to his lab in 2 days. His eyes glowed with a sinister light. It wasn't an offer, it was a trap. He wonders now if he had just run away from the tower right then. Would he have lived a normal life for the past 7 years? Instead, he was thrown into the tower master's secret laboratory. His life became a living nightmare. A laborer by day, a test subject by night, with Weller and the others constantly screaming at him for his useless defiance. He was forced to create magic circles to validate his own stolen theories, to devote his entire existence to the very magic tower that had betrayed him. And he couldn't tell a soul. No one would believe him. His only reward was the tower master's threats against the people he cared about. And so he ended up here, broken and alone, curled up on the cold floor of a cell. He felt like everything was over. The light in his eyes had faded, leaving nothing but emptiness and despair. Lying on the floor of his dark cell, he stares blankly into the darkness. What? What can I even do now? Suddenly, a warm light fills his vision. He hears a familiar voice. "Over here, Verdun!" He sees himself as a child, running through a sunlit field. A young girl with bright red hair, Rovelyn, calls for him to hurry up, and he yells back for her to wait. The vision confuses him. What is this? He sees another memory, a mage yelling at him to move faster when he was just a young worker. Is this his childhood? He hears Rovelyn's voice again, calling his name. They're sitting together, looking up at the magic tower. She says, "Let's become great mages together." And he agrees. It's a promise. Yeah, he remembers that promise and how all his friends achieved their dreams, everyone but him. He wonders if his potential for growth had been just a little bit higher. He sees his old colleagues, Lucard among them, laughing together. Would things have turned out differently? The image of smiling friends is replaced by the reality of his own bloodied hand, reaching for a dream he could never grasp. Back in his cell, he grips the bars, his face a mask of pain. A strange light begins to glow in his fist. A voice in his head tells him to just admit it. It's all over. He spits a mouthful of blood onto the floor. The fight is leaving him. Suddenly, the floor is swarming with the escaped experimental ants. He hears their familiar skittering sound, the same sound from every experiment. He has no strength left. Maybe it would be better if he just died. A strange voice seems to answer him. Really? But that's not how you truly feel, is it? The voice comes from one of the ants, sitting in his blood. Not yet. As the swarm gathers, the voice asks again. It's not over yet, is it? Verdun hangs his head as a new resolve hardens within him. He has to keep going, for revenge and for survival. The swarm of ants rises, coalescing into a towering, shadowy figure. The voice tells him to hold on, to grit his teeth, and to endure it all, again and again. Then you'll be reborn. The shadow stands over him, so you'll never be trampled again, so that you can wield great power. You will surpass your limits. The words echo as he stares into a glowing magic circle. He makes his choice. Yeah. Verdun clenches his fist, a new strength flowing through him. It's not over yet. He will hone the blade of revenge he's been sharpening for 7 long years. He will give it everything he has until it is complete. He knows there's one last problem he needs to solve, one final piece of the puzzle. He's learned a hard lesson. In the face of overwhelming power, a brilliant mind isn't enough. He looks at the reflection in his own eye, at the complex magic circle he's designed. If that's the case, he thinks, then I just need to defy my fate. He will rewrite the laws of magic itself to complete a method of reconstructing the body never seen before, the theory of defying heaven. He presses his hand to the floor, pouring his will into the magic circle he carved there. Tomorrow, he will change everything. The ancient runes of the magic circle flare to life, bathing the cell in an ethereal blue glow. Energy surges around him, his eyes burning with determination. He reaches out as power gathers in his hand, declaring silently, I will break through my limits. With a power born from 7 years of suffering gathering in his hand, Verdun makes a silent vow. Tomorrow, he thinks, his eyes burning with a cold fire, I will break my limits. He reflects on his grand design. The theory of defying heavens, a plan to reconstruct his own body, was a puzzle he could only solve when he was finally ready to embrace death itself. In the darkness of his cell, he pulls a clean shirt over his battered body, hiding the scars that map out his torment, but not the chilling determination in his eyes. Now, only one thing remains to prove his theory. He needs an artifact, something that will allow his magic-less body to cast a spell, just once. He's willing to risk it all, even if his body shatters in the attempt. Tomorrow evening, he will reclaim his freedom. The long, tense night finally gave way to dawn. The day he had waited 7 years for had finally arrived. From the outside, the grand magic tower looks peaceful, a beautiful lie hiding the darkness within. A key turns in a lock, and the heavy door creaks open. A voice drips with contempt. Hey, you pathetic rat! Time to clean the alchemy lab. It's Weller, his familiar arrogant sneer in place. He tells Verdun to scrub the bloodstains and patch himself up, calling him pathetic for complaining after a simple experiment. The festival is coming, and he better not even think about slacking off. He yells in Verdun's face, demanding a response. Verdun just stares back, his expression cold and empty, a fresh streak of blood on his cheek. Yes. The single word is quiet, devoid of all emotion. He turns and walks into the hallway, his back straight. The first part of his plan was now in motion. As he works, his mind drifts back to a different time, a memory from before his world was plunged into darkness. A gentle voice asks if he's cleaning up all by himself. He turns to see his childhood friend Ravelin. Her bright red hair and kind eyes, a painful reminder of a life he no longer has. He asks what she's doing here, and she tells him she came to say goodbye before leaving for her studies. He forces a smile, remembering she was chosen to study in the magic city of Virento, a privilege reserved for the tower's greatest talents. He congratulates her and wishes her well, but she just looks at him with a serious expression. She tells him her offer still stands, reaching for his hand with an intense gaze. Come with me to Virento. She insists that unlike here, he wouldn't have to deal with arrogant fools looking down on him. The magic city could offer him a fresh start. He gently pulls his hand away. Her face flushes as she gets flustered, telling him not to get the wrong idea. He just calls her name softly. I'll stay here. he says with a sad, gentle smile framed by the light from the window. A single decision that would seal his fate forever. Ravelin looks away, a flicker of disappointment in her eyes. "I'll write you letters," she says softly, before a carriage whisks her away, leaving him standing all alone. Back in the present, Verdun watches the world through a window, the memory still aching in his mind. Ravelin, he thinks, you don't know anything. You don't know what's been happening in this place. You don't even know what they've done to me all this time. He thinks of his reality, of the chains and the pain. But despite it all, there's one thing he's grateful for. That she is far away from here, and won't get caught up in what he's about to do. The Magic Festival. It's one of the Empire's most important holidays, celebrating the revival of magic. For the Tower, it's the busiest day of the year. And most importantly, once the festival begins, every single high-ranking mage leaves the Tower for the major cities. The once bustling halls fall silent and empty, leaving only the low-ranking mages behind. Verdun knocks on a door. An irritated voice demands to know who it is. "It's Verdun," he replies. After a short pause, a gruff voice tells him to come in. An administrator looks up, annoyed. He asks what Verdun wants, threatening him if it isn't important. Verdun calmly states that the Tower Master ordered him to clean the treasure vaults. The administrator scoffs, calling him a pathetic fool for not getting permission in advance. But he waves him in anyway, warning him not to lose or damage a single thing. Verdun bows his head slightly. "Yes, Administrator." The moment the door clicks shut, Verdun's subservient demeanor vanishes. He places a hand against the door. The act is over. He pulls out a small, ornate cushion, a sound-blocking artifact, and places it on a nearby table. Good, he thinks. The sound is blocked. He turns to face the vault, his expression now as hard as steel. It begins now. He descends a long, spiraling staircase surrounded by countless artifacts glowing with a faint purple energy. He reaches the bottom. This is it. In the center of the room, floating above a powerful magic circle, is his prize, the second circuit. An artificial staff the Tower Master spent a fortune on, capable of allowing triple casting and awakening the latent talents of its user. To execute his plan, he needs this staff. And to get it, he has to break the protective magic circle. He focuses, his jaw clenched tight. It's a 7th-tier spell, personally created by the Tower Master himself, said to be an unbreakable defense. But for the last 7 years of his miserable life, Verdun has studied nothing else. He places his hand over the glowing runes. With a controlled surge of will, he disrupts the flow of mana. The complex web of magic begins to crack and short-circuit under his touch. He yells in his mind, "Tower Master, this magic circle you're so proud of, I'll destroy it myself." With one final push, the spell shatters into nothing. Elsewhere in the tower, a voice curses in frustration. "Ah, this is so irritating." The room is littered with empty bottles of alcohol. 2 mages are supposed to be guarding the tower's power source. One complains that while everyone else is enjoying the festival, they're stuck here on guard duty. The other just sighs that it was the luck of the draw. The bearded mage takes a long drink, grumbling that if it were based on skill, he wouldn't be here. Suddenly, he senses someone approaching. He turns to see Verdun walking in. Annoyed, he orders him to go get them more drinks. The mage continues his rant, boasting that once he becomes Tower Master, he'll be drinking much better than this cheap stuff. His partner just laughs at the idea. He jokes that if he does become Tower Master, drinks are on him, but Verdun isn't listening. His eyes are locked on the artifact now clutched tightly in his hand, the second circuit. The bearded mage, noticing Verdun's silence, slams his mug down. As he continues boasting, his partner's eyes go wide with shock. The teal-haired mage stares past him, stammering, "What? What are you doing?" The bearded mage turns around and sees Verdun standing there holding the glowing staff. They can't believe their eyes. "Verdun!" the bearded mage screams. "Are you out of your mind?" Verdun just looks at him coldly, finding their reaction almost amusing. The teal-haired mage is furious. "How dare a lowly rat like you raise a hand against a mage?" he roars, grabbing his own staff. "I'll teach you a lesson you won't forget." He channels his power, blue energy swirling around him as he casts a rank 3 spell, Tidal Wave. Verdun remains perfectly calm. Rank 3 magic. He counters instantly, slamming the butt of the second circuit into the ground. A different magic circle appears, and sharp spears of rock erupt from the floor, shattering the wave of water. The mage can only let out a stunned, "Huh?" as a spear of rock flies right at his face. A sickening crunch echoes through the room as the rock slams into him. He collapses, clutching his bleeding face in total disbelief. "How did you?" he gasps. "How can someone like you, a mere rank 1, use magic?" Verdun looks down at the fallen mage. "What, are you shocked that a test subject can cast a spell?" He stands over him, the stolen staff glowing. "This is what happens when you treat people like toys," he says, his voice like ice. "That goes for you, and for this entire tower." He brings the staff down hard. He stands alone in the now silent room, the 2 guards lying unconscious on the floor. He turns his attention to what they were guarding, the real prize. This is my first time seeing it up close. Before him floats the heart of the tower, a massive, pulsating purple core of pure mana. The magic tower's power source. It took 7 long years to get to this point. Now, using the boundless mana from this power source, he will initiate Defying Heavens. He knows the risk. If he fails, his body could be annihilated. But he removes his shirt, revealing an impossibly complex magic circle tattooed across his entire back. If he doesn't try, he'll never know. He grips the staff, and the magic circle on his back begins to glow. He plunges the tip of the staff into the floor, directly into the larger magic circle that channels the core's energy. The entire room erupts in a blinding flash of light as the artifact connects with the infinite energy of the power source. Verdun grunts in pain as raw, untamed power surges through the staff and into his body. The ritual to reform his body begins now. He throws his head back and screams as the energy tears through him, rewriting his very being from the inside out. This is it. Defying Heavens! A colossal beam of pure magical energy erupts from the top of the clock tower, shooting straight into the night sky. Miles away, a carriage travels through a dark forest. Suddenly, the entire landscape is bathed in the brilliant pillar of light. The sole passenger inside recognizes the energy instantly. This enormous power, it's coming from the tower's core, which means only one thing. Balrog Bessius, the magic tower master, looks on with cold, murderous fury. Someone has dared to invade my magic tower. The world is quiet. Smoke and dust hang heavy in the air where the magic tower's power source used to be, the moonlight streaming down on nothing but ruins. A groan cuts through the silence as a hand pushes away a chunk of rubble. Verdun struggles to pull himself from the debris. He gets to his knees, still clutching the artifact he stole. The second circuit glows weakly, struggling to hold itself together. Then, with a soft sigh of energy, the staff crumbles into dust. He can't believe it. The blast was powerful enough to destroy the entire area, and yet, he's still alive. A single, crucial question echoes in his mind. Did the heaven-defying theory actually succeed? He kneels alone in the crater of his own making, a fine dust swirling around him like snow. The silence is his only answer. Suddenly, his head whips up. He feels it, a terrifying pressure, a presence moving at an impossible speed. Streaks of blue light tear through the forest outside the tower. Someone's coming this way, and they're coming fast. Verdun's eyes widen in alarm. There's only one person who could move like that, the master of the magic tower. Panic jolts through him. Balrog must have sensed the disturbance in the power source. He's here. A figure materializes in the smoke. Balrog, his eyes glowing with rage, raises a hand crackling with raw, untamed power. He unleashes a massive blast of energy that tears through the ruins. But as the dust settles, there's no one there. Balrog stands amidst the devastation, his face a mask of cold fury. He looks down at a faint, fading glow on the floor. "This is a teleportation magic circle?" His voice is a low growl, filled with disbelief. "You dare to touch my magic tower and run?" Dark violet energy begins to pour from his body, cracking the very stones beneath his feet. I don't care who it is. The pressure intensifies, rocks beginning to float around him, even if it's the Emperor himself or just some clueless child. He throws his head back and roars into the night, his face twisted in pure fury. "I'll find them and I'll kill them! Absolutely!" His scream is punctuated by a crash of lightning that splits the sky. Title card. Meanwhile, Verdun's consciousness drifts. He feels sleepy, his whole body weak. He just wants to lie here to let the exhaustion finally take him. But something cool touches his face. Is that water? His eyes snap open with a splash. He jolts upright, sputtering. What in the world? He's surrounded by a bright, lush forest. Where am I? He wonders. I was definitely running away. He's kneeling shirtless at the edge of a clear stream. Nothing makes sense. And then he sees his reflection in the water. He stares, dumbfounded. A face he doesn't recognize stares back. His face, it's completely changed. He touches his cheek, his eyes wide with shock. Why do I look like this? He runs a hand through his hair. His familiar brown locks had turned a stark ash gray, and his eyes, once dark, were now a brilliant, clear blue. He's become a completely different person. He wonders if something went wrong during the ritual, but he's certain the theory itself was a success. He quickly runs through the events in his mind. He connected to the power source, activated his theory, and used a teleportation circle to escape just before the Tower Master arrived. And now, he's here. He looks up at the bright, unfamiliar sky, the trees, the mountains. Everything is new to him. He gets to his feet, taking in the strange plants. He's never seen this forest before. These plants didn't grow anywhere near the Bohemian Magic Tower. That can only mean one thing. A slow, incredulous smile spreads across his face. Did he really teleport himself halfway across the continent? Ha ha ha. The smile explodes into a wild, unhinged laugh of pure, unadulterated freedom. He did it. He rebuilt his body and escaped to the tower. I'm finally free! He lies back in the grass, giddy with triumph. He can only imagine how furious the Tower Master is right now. With the tower in ruins, Balrog won't even know who did it, let alone that the test subject he tortured for years escaped right under his nose. He lets out a contented sigh. But a moment of clarity sobers him. The magic tower won't fall that easily. Even with the power source gone, the Tower Master will find a way to recover. Balrog's title, Omnipotent, wasn't just for show. Still, this is enough for now. A confident smirk plays on his lips. While the tower is busy rebuilding, he can build up the strength he needs for his revenge. He makes a silent vow. I'll destroy everything he built right before his eyes. And I'll carve the name Verdan into the world as a true mage. Revenge and recognition. Those are his only goals now. He stretches, feeling the sun on his new skin. Goodbye to that wretched magic tower, at least for a while. Just then, a noise from the woods catches his attention. A small green goblin is hacking away at a wooden crate with a crude axe. Verdan raises his hand, his expression calm, almost bored. A simple spell forms in his mind. Wind cutter. A blade of air slices silently through the trees. The goblin lets out a confused squeak as its head is cleanly separated from its body. Verdan lowers his hand, the forest floor now stained with blood. He assesses the situation. It looks like there's an obvious side effect. He wonders if there was an issue during the reconstruction. Other than his hair and eyes, his appearance is the same. But the amount of mana in his body, it's off the charts. He can't tell what happened yet, but this is a problem. Seeing a goblin wandering around so openly means the nearest village must be quite a distance from here. He walks over to the crate the goblin was attacking and notices something on the ground. Wagon wheel tracks. He kneels to examine them. It seems someone dropped their luggage while fleeing in a hurry. He closes his eyes and casts another spell, mana detection. He needs to find out where the owner of this crate went. A stream of blue energy flows from his hand, following the tracks like a hunting dog. The energy leads him on, pulling him faster and faster through the dense forest. Ahead of him, a carriage driver is frantically whipping his horses. "You stupid animals, run faster!" He's in a full-blown panic, glancing nervously behind him. What in the world is that? How did things get this bad? He flashes back to what happened. Running into the remains of a bandit group was manageable. He tried to negotiate, but it failed. The mercenaries he hired ran away. That was still fine. But then the orcs showed up. Huge, muscular monsters with terrifying, smiling faces. The only reason he managed to escape was because the bandits were busy dealing with the new, bigger threat. Otherwise, he would have been. He pushes the horses harder, the carriage bouncing wildly on the uneven road. Suddenly, a guttural roar echoes from the woods. The driver flinches. That sound? No way. Is it following me? He whips the reins in terror, screaming at the horses to run faster. A wheel hits a large root, and with a loud crack, the carriage lurches violently. "What?" the driver screams as he's thrown from his seat, the wrecked carriage skidding to a halt. He groans, pushing himself up and clutching his aching back. He looks up in sheer terror. Wait, no! Dozens of glowing red eyes emerge from the dark woods, surrounding him completely. A horde of orcs and goblins steps into the clearing. The driver sinks to the ground in despair. This is it. So this is how I die, to a monster. A massive orc raises its club, ready to deliver the final blow as the creatures let out a terrifying roar. The driver shuts his eyes tight, bracing for the end. But just as the club is about to crash down, a calm voice rings out, "Earth wall." A massive wall of rock erupts from the ground, blocking the attack and completely enclosing the driver. The monsters stare in confusion at the sudden fortress. Verdan's voice comes from atop the wall. "Ah, I forgot to make an air hole." The orcs and goblins look up, growling at the new arrival. Verdan stands on his creation, looking down at the trapped driver with detached calm. "Well, I'll just finish this before he runs out of air." He turns his attention to the horde of monsters. This will be his first real fight since his transformation. A ball of fire ignites in his hand. The orcs let out a furious roar, their red eyes gleaming with bloodlust. Verdan smirks, his body now wreathed in flames. This is the perfect number of opponents to test his newfound talent. With a flick of his wrist, he sends small fireballs dancing onto the tree branches, lighting the dark forest with an eerie, flickering orange glow. Then he unleashes his power. A storm of multi-flame arrows rains down from the sky, a spell far beyond what any normal mage could cast. The horde of monsters is engulfed in a sea of fire, their bodies turning to ash in the inferno. The largest orc lets out a final, agonizing roar as the flames consume it, its massive body stumbling forward before collapsing onto the scorched earth. Asher stands atop the rock wall he created, looking down on the carnage with an unreadable expression. The roar of the fire is the only sound left. This is the power he now wields. He effortlessly weaves together multiple magic circles, combining the volley of multi-flame arrows with a whirlwind spell. The result is a devastating new combination he creates on the fly, Heatwave Arrow. The synergy of fire and wind creates a massive explosion that incinerates everything in its path. The ground trembles from the sheer force of the blast. In a matter of seconds, the entire horde is reduced to nothing more than charred remains and dust. Asher stands in the sudden silence as rain begins to fall. He's even surprising himself. Before this, he couldn't have even killed a single goblin. But now, it seems none of them are left. He looks down at the scorched battlefield with a cool, analytical gaze. He needs to get the driver out of that rock wall before he runs out of air. It would be a waste to save him, only for him to suffocate now. As he dismantles the wall, a massive, scarred orc, a survivor, leaps from the shadows with a guttural roar, its claws aimed right for his throat. He's caught completely off guard. One of them was still alive. The ground is splattered with fresh blood. Sometime later, a repaired carriage trundles down the forest path. The driver, whose name is Conrad, is practically beaming. "Wow, I, Conrad, will never forget what happened today." He turns to Asher, his eyes shining with pure admiration. "If it weren't for you, I would have never made it out alive. How can I ever repay you?" Asher sighs, unimpressed. "Just keep your eyes on the path," he says flatly. "You're going to flip the carriage again." Conrad immediately snaps to attention. "Yes, sir," but his chatter continues. He asks if Asher was ever in any danger against that horde. Asher just closes his eyes, thinking to himself that this man talks way too much. He flashes back to the ambush. Well, it was a little dangerous. The memory of the orc lunging at him is still sharp in his mind. He remembers blocking the attack at the last possible second, a small energy shield flaring to life on his arm. And then he ended it with a simple wind cutter, slicing the monster cleanly in two. He opens his eyes and reassures the talkative driver with a slight, confident smile. "There's nothing to worry about." He decides to change the subject, asking if thieves appear often in this area. Conrad says this was his first time ever running into them here. He explains that this forest is under the control of Baron Pyth, who had personally assured him that the local bandits had already been taken care of. That's why he took the same route without hiring expensive mercenaries. "I guess my luck just ran out today," he laments. Asher listens intently. It seems his random teleportation landed him exactly where he needed to be, in Baron Pythe's territory. He knows he has to be careful. Even though he erased his tracks and changed his appearance, the Bohemian Magic Tower could still be looking for him. For now, his plan is simple: hide his identity and grow stronger. Conrad's voice pulls him from his thoughts. Sir, are you listening? Asher realizes he hasn't even introduced himself yet. He looks at Conrad with a cool, steady gaze. The next time he uses the name Verdun, "My name is Asher," will be the day he faces the master of the Magic Tower. They arrive at the magnificent estate of Baron Pythe. A well-dressed man with brown hair rushes out, his face etched with worry. "Conrad, what happened to you?" Conrad just laughs sheepishly, scratching his head. "I think I lost some weight running away from all those orcs." The man, Baron Pythe, turns to Asher and apologizes for the trouble. He assumes Asher is just a mercenary Conrad hired, but Conrad quickly jumps in to correct him. The Baron's eyes light up with understanding. "Oh, is he the mage who helped you?" He beams at Asher, declaring he can't simply stand by when the savior of his friend is right in front of him. He gives a crisp order to his guards to let him enter the castle. Asher walks through the grand doors, flanked by servants. Now cleaned up and dressed in fine clothes, Asher gives a formal bow. "Thank you for providing me with clothes, food, and a place to rest." Baron Pythe smiles warmly. "You are most welcome." He properly introduces himself as Baron Pythe Henrod, the lord of this territory, and invites Asher to take a seat at a lavish dinner table. The Baron asks if the food is to his liking. Asher, sampling the exquisite meal, confirms that it's quite amazing. The Baron gets straight to the point. For saving Conrad, he has prepared a reward of 5 million elk. But before Asher can respond, the Baron adds that he has another proposal. He says he'd like to hire Asher for a job and promises to pay him handsomely for his services. Asher considers it. To achieve his goals, he'll need money, and this would be a perfect chance to practice his magic in real combat. He sets his fork down. "Would you tell me what job you had in mind?" The Baron's expression turns grim. He explains that a few days ago, they found the bodies of a farm town's residents in the southern forest. The town itself was in complete ruin, and their investigation pointed to bandits. However, when they searched the entire territory, they couldn't find a single trace of the bandits. It was as if all evidence of them had been erased with magic. The Baron leans forward, stating his suspicion: "It's possible the bandits have a mage among their ranks." Asher asks when he plans on hunting them down. The Baron smiles. His plan is already set. In 4 days, we see Asher, now clad in armor and a cloak, standing before a group of soldiers. An older knight with a mustache introduces himself as Enoch, a knight of Baron Pythe and the commander of this operation. Enoch introduces 2 of his men, Harris and a cheerful young man named Peric, who eagerly greets the Mr. Mage. Asher gives a slight nod, shaking the commander's hand. "It's nice to meet you. I'm Asher." Asher reflects on the Baron's offer. He thought this could be a good chance, but he never imagined it would be a simple bandit hunt. The Baron had been a little too cheerful about it, and Asher realizes he's being used. He decides to think of it as payment for his stay. He notices another group of rough-looking individuals nearby and asks Enoch if they're also part of the plan. Enoch confirms they are adventurers. It seems they gathered because of rumors of a strange new orc that appeared recently. The reward for killing it must be pretty good, as even gold rank adventurers have shown up. Gold rank adventurers are on the same level as ordinary knight skilled veterans trained in using their energy to strengthen themselves and their weapons. Asher watches the group move out. People at that rank are rumored to be strong enough to cut down mountains. If the Baron has knights and skilled adventurers like these, why does he still need him? Enoch approaches him. "Asher, please let us know if there really is a mage amongst the bandits." Asher agrees, but asks why they need him specifically. Enoch explains that while their strength is comparable, a mage's long-range spells make it very difficult for knights to close the distance. A mage is the best counter to another mage. Asher simply says, "This is unfortunate then." Enoch's face pales. "Don't tell me." Asher stands still, his eyes focused on the path just ahead of them. "There's a magic circle right in front of us," he announces calmly, raising his hand. He utters a single word: "Dispel." With a wave of his hand, an invisible camouflage spell shatters, revealing a massive, intricate magic circle glowing ominously on the ground before them. The knights and adventurers gasp in shock. A magic circle just appeared out of nowhere. They can't believe something like this was hidden in their territory. Asher analyzes it instantly. The first spell was camouflage, and this one is a warning trap. He tells the others to stay back while he takes care of this one as well. He raises both hands, creating a counterspell of his own. With a flash of light, the massive warning circle dissolves into nothing. One of the adventurers stares, completely flabbergasted. He's able to take down magic circles this easily? Asher simply turns and continues walking as if nothing happened. Across the continent, guilds offer a path for those brave enough to call themselves adventurers. They chart the unknown and stand against the monsters that prey on the innocent. It's a life lived on the edge of a blade where fame and fortune are earned through courage, a life of honor. But for some, surviving countless battles doesn't build character. It twists it. Power corrupts, and soon their blades are turned not on monsters, but on people. They forget the meaning of honor. And in the end, they're nothing more than bandits. In the middle of a forest, a man with a long ponytail slams his foot down. "Damn it!" he roars, his voice echoing through the trees. This is Varha, a bandit leader. He's furious, still reeling from a previous fight, only to be hit by orcs and goblins right after. Now, their food supplies are completely gone. He glares at his defeated-looking men. "What are you all doing just standing there?" he barks. "Go find something to hunt." But they're not alone. Hidden in the nearby bushes, a group of knights watches their every move. One of them whispers, "I think that's them." He looks to his leader, a knight with graying hair. "What should we do, Sir Enoch?" The men are coiled springs, ready to strike at a moment's notice. Sir Enoch's gaze hardens. Seeing the bandits with their guard down, he makes a decision. They'll attack now. His hand tightens on the hilt of his sword, ready to give the signal. But just as he's about to give the command, a calm voice cuts through the tension. "Please wait, Sir Enoch. I've come along as a countermeasure for mages." He points out that they haven't seen what the enemy is capable of. If the bandit mage is a higher circle than him, this ambush could turn into a slaughter. Another knight shifts nervously. "But Sir Asher, if we wait, they might start moving." The young mage, Asher, remains perfectly still, his eyes fixed on the camp as he calmly assesses the situation. After a moment of silence, he says with quiet confidence, "There is a way." Back at the bandit camp, Varja is still fuming about his recent losses. The new recruit he'd just picked up was killed, and all his hard work expanding their territory feels wasted. He can't get over the fact that some laughing, clown-like orc wiped out his men. This wasn't the life he imagined back when he was an explorer, before he got caught killing for coin. A cruel smile plays on his lips as he turns to his mage, Vilshin. "Hey Vilshin, how about we hit another village?" But the mage advises against it. The local baron is already enraged over their last stunt. Vilshin, the blue-haired mage, explains that their concealment magic won't last forever. It's time to move on to a city called Martez. He suggests they plunder a village near the city, but his sentence is cut short. A brilliant streak of orange light suddenly tears through the air, aimed right at them. Vilshin's eyes widen in shock as the bolt of magic screams past his face. An instant later, a deafening explosion rocks their camp, engulfing it in fire and smoke. "Ugh, an explosion out of nowhere?" Varja shouts. Vilshin quickly summons a magic circle. It's not just an explosion, it's magic. The terrifying realization hits them all at once. "We've been discovered!" At that exact moment, Sir Enoch and his knights burst from the trees, swords raised. The clash is immediate and brutal. The knights are a whirlwind of steel, cutting down the stunned bandits before they can even react. Before Vilshin can finish casting his own spell, an enemy is already on him, and a blade strikes him with blinding speed. Varha lets out a roar of fury. "Vilshin." He watches his comrade fall, recognizing the spell Vilshin was attempting to cast, a mana barrier. It's a quick defensive spell, but notoriously weak. Varja knows that shattering a mana barrier sends a massive shockwave back to the caster, leaving them completely defenseless. Just then, Asher emerges from the trees, a faint magical glow fading from his hand. "Now that we know their strength," he says calmly, "I'll handle the mage as planned." Varha's face twists in a snarl. He can't believe the Baron hired a mage to hunt them down. But his anger quickly boils over his fear. "Things won't go as he planned," he screams, clashing his sword against Sir Enoch's. Varja pushes with all his might, his expression pure rage. "I'll send your heads to the Baron as a gift." Sir Enoch just smirks. "Haha, that's a nice thought." Meanwhile, Vilshan is desperately fleeing through the forest. He'd planned to escape from the beginning, but now the enemy mage is hot on his trail. He risks a glance back and sees Asher gliding smoothly behind him on a moving pillar of earth. He recognizes the spell. Only third circle mages and above can truly fly. This means his opponent must be a second circle mage, just like him. A sudden surge of overconfidence fills him. He grinds to a halt and spins around to face Asher. "How long do you plan on standing there?" Vilshan shouts, summoning a storm of ice magic. "Multi-ice arrows." "I'll strike him down first." Asher looks down from his perch, completely unimpressed. He thinks to himself, if he's only second circle, I'll finish him here. As Vilshan's ice arrows shoot forward, Asher simply raises a hand. A massive, fiery magic circle erupts in front of him. "Multi-flame arrows," he intones. The two spells collide with a deafening roar, a chaotic explosion of fire and ice. The ground is a ruin of scorched earth and sharp ice. Vilshan stumbles back, coughing as he catches his breath. He thinks to himself that the attack wasn't bad for a second circle, but he chose the wrong opponent. He's sure he can win this. One-on-one, without the knights to interfere, he can take this kid down and make his escape. But Asher's voice cuts through the air, cold and absolute. "I have no intention of letting you go." Asher almost sounds impressed. "That confidence, and your skill with complex magic at such a young age? It's been a while since I've seen a talent like you." Vilshan's confidence curdles into rage. A manic grin spreads across his face. "You probably never thought you'd get stomped here today, though." He channels all his power into a final attack, forming a massive spear of ice above him. Third circle magic, falling ice. "Die!" he screams, sending the colossal icicle crashing down towards Asher. Suddenly, a huge magic circle, far more complex than before, ignites at his feet with an intense blue light. Vilshan's triumphant smirk freezes on his face, replaced by pure disbelief. Huh? Massive pillars of earth erupt from the ground, intercepting the ice spear and shattering it into a million pieces. Vilshan can only stare, completely stunned. His ultimate spell was blocked, effortlessly. Amidst the falling shards of ice, Asher raises his hand, power gathering around it. Earth spear. He clenches his fist. Dozens of sharp spears of rock shoot up from the ground, tearing through Vilshan's defenses as if they were made of paper. Vilshan's mind races. Earth spear? But that's a third circle spell. How could a second circle mage possibly use it? Asher's voice is almost playful. Take a wild guess. An icy blue energy begins to coalesce in his other hand. The horrifying truth finally begins to dawn on Vilshan. Not only third circle magic, but 4 different elemental attributes? Don't tell me he's been deceiving me from the start. But the thought is never finished. Asher unleashes his attack, and Vilshan is thrown back, his body broken. As the sun sets, Asher stands over his defeated foe, his expression as calm as ever. He looks down at his own hand, a flicker of satisfaction in his eyes. Good thing I came, because now I've learned how to fight against a mage. But not far from the carnage, deep within the darkening woods, something else is stirring. A thick, heavy chain hangs around its neck, a strange pendant glowing against its chest. It's a massive, red-skinned orc. It stands among the bodies of fallen soldiers, a terrifying, toothy grin spreading across its face as it clutches the severed arm of its latest victim. To get his revenge, Asher knows his new body isn't enough. He needs every advantage he can get, even if it means putting himself through hell all over again. He remembers making a special potion 2 days before the mission, using precious materials stolen from the magic tower. It's a mana circuit expander, designed to forcibly widen the pathways for his magic. The memory of those hellish experiments is still fresh, and he never wanted to feel that kind of pain again. But this was a necessary evil. A flashback shows the potion taking hold in a violent, agonizing surge. His body convulses on the floor as a pained cry escapes his lips. He grits his teeth, pushing through the searing pain as golden energy. His own mana crackles across his skin. This is the price he is willing to pay for power. Back in the present, he looks down at the body of the bandit mage. The man is definitely dead. Asher knows he needs proof of his contribution to build trust with the Baron. He then spots something on the ground near the body. It's the wand the mage was using during their fight. Kneeling down, he picks it up. It feels solid in his hand. He decides to use his appraisal skill to see what he's found. The results come back: a magic stone staff, enchanted to slightly increase the speed and power of ice-type spells. It's not a top-tier item, but it will be good enough for now. Just then, one of the younger knights, Peric, comes running up the cliff, calling out to him. He's visibly relieved to see that Asher is safe. Peric explains they were worried when he didn't return. Asher apologizes, saying the bandits were a bit stronger than he expected. Peric nods, mentioning the trail of destruction was no joke. Asher asks if the rest of the bandits have been dealt with. Peric confirms that Commander Enoch is handling the leader, and it should all be over by the time they get back. Before they leave, Asher stops him with one more question. Peric, still cheerful, tells him to ask anything. With a serious look, Asher asks what will happen to the bandits' belongings, his mind already on securing any useful resources. Peric's response is surprising. He explains that the Baron already gave an order. If Sir Asher wants anything from the loot, he's more than happy to let him have it. Asher thinks about Baron Pythe. The man is shrewd, but also incredibly generous when it suits his purposes. A small, satisfied smile plays on his lips as he looks at the wand in his hand. He decides then and there that he'll gratefully accept this gift. Back with the main group, Commander Enoch greets him, saying that without his help, their casualties would have been severe. Asher just brushes it off, saying it was a good experience for him as well. Nearby, a captured bandit overhears that their mage, Bilcian, is dead. The news hits him hard. He knows there's no way out now. Panic floods his mind. At this rate, he'll be dragged back to the territory and executed. He can't die like this. With a desperate cry, he decides he has nothing left to lose and makes a break for it. He spins, his blade flashing in a wild attack meant to create an opening in the knight's formation. He screams for the others to move, yelling that without their mage, there's no way to break the encirclement. His plan is simple and brutal: kill a knight and escape on one of their horses. He lunges, his sword aims straight for Commander Enoch. But Enoch is a seasoned veteran. He calmly raises his own sword and, with a sharp clang, easily parries the desperate attack. The bandit freezes, his eyes wide with confusion. Before the bandit can react, the other soldiers tackle him, pinning him down. He struggles, screaming at Enoch, accusing him of having no knightly honor. Enoch just scoffs, a cynical smile on his face as he asks what the bandit is talking about. He pulls out a small dagger. Leaning over the captured man, he says with a cold, chilling finality, "Honor only matters when you're alive, my friend." With a quick, efficient motion, the struggle ends. Enoch stands up, calmly wiping his hands. He clears his throat, slightly embarrassed that Asher had to witness such an unsightly scene. He explains that with more time, he would have taken the man's head face to face, insisting that he doesn't always fight like that. Asher just smiles, complimenting the commander's impressive skill. But then he asks a practical question. Why did they spare the other bandits? Enoch explains that some of his soldiers recognized faces among them. They might be survivors from the attacked village, forced into banditry. They'll take them back to confirm their identities before deciding their fate. The commander gives the order to head back to the territory and transport the prisoners. As the soldiers herd the captured men, one of them, a young man, stumbles and falls. A soldier barks at him to stand up. The young man panics, screaming that he doesn't want to be dragged off to die. He makes a sudden, desperate run for the trees. Before the soldiers can chase, Asher steps in, telling them he'll take care of it. He quickly catches up to the man, grabbing his shoulder. He tells him to wait, a frown on his face. Something feels off. The captured man starts trembling uncontrollably, his words turning into a terrified plea for someone to save him. Asher's eyes narrow as the man's body begins to contort strangely. He senses a dark, foreign energy, and then he smells it, the thick, metallic scent of blood. The entire subjugation team watches from a distance, confused. In an instant, the prisoner's head explodes in a sickening spray of red. Standing over the body is a monstrous, hulking figure that appeared from thin air. The entire group freezes, a wave of shock and dread washing over them. It looks like an orc, but something is horribly different. Asher watches grimly, sweat beading on his temple. It seems that the adventurers who came for the reward failed to take this thing down. He thinks to himself, you can't even call that an orc. And it's not just that one. He expands his mana sense, and the world appears as a grid of energy. He sees the new monster clearly now, and he can sense dozens of other creatures nearby, hiding in the trees. He realizes what they're facing. This isn't just a random monster. It's the leader of a pack. It's the same kind of creature he saw before, back when he first rescued Conrad. It has the same terrifying clown-like grin and a body easily twice the size of a normal orc. It must have evolved. The evolved orc points, and a horde of goblins and other orcs charge forward from the woods with a terrifying roar. Enoch immediately shouts for everyone to get into a defensive formation. His plan is simple: take down the goblins first, then subdue the big one. He charges forward to meet the evolved orc head-on. Their blades clash with a deafening sound. Enoch grunts, the sheer force of the impact rattling him to the bone. The beast is too strong. It raises its massive foot, aiming to crush the Knight Commander. But just before it connects, a shimmering blue barrier appears, blocking the attack. It's Asher's magic. The magic shield deflects the stomp, giving the other knights an opening. Another knight dodges and lunges, driving his sword deep into the evolved orc's side. The blade sinks in, drawing a spray of dark blood. The monster roars in pain. It stumbles back, looking down at the wound in its torso. It glares at the knights, steam rising from its breath, its red eyes burning with rage. Then it does something truly horrifying. It reaches out and grabs a nearby goblin, which squeals in pure terror. The knights can only watch in absolute shock as the orc shoves the smaller creature into its mouth, crunching down with sickening force. It chews on the goblin, blood dripping from its massive jaw. A dark, ominous aura flares up around the evolved orc. The deep gash in its side begins to close up right before their eyes. Enoch realizes with dawning horror that it healed itself by devouring its own kind. His face is grim. It looks like going back peacefully is completely out of the question. The evolved orc lets out a roar and charges, its massive sword held high. The time for shock is over. The real fight has just begun. It swings its cleaver in a wide, devastating arc. The soldier barely escapes with his life, the wind from the blade whipping past his face. He manages to block the spinning blade, but the force is too much. Cracks spiderweb across his own weapon. His sword shatters into 1,000 pieces. Before he can even register his shock, the shards of his own weapon fly back into his face. A brutal scream rips through the air as the attack finds its mark and the knight falls. The young knight, Parik, screams his comrade's name in horror. Harris. Another knight warns him to be careful, but it's too late. The evolved orc is already on him, its massive fist swinging towards his head. It's impossibly fast. With adrenaline pumping through his veins, Parik swings his own sword, aiming to sever the monster's arm. He puts all of his strength into the blow. But as his blade makes contact, his eyes go wide with shock. The sword doesn't cut through. It sinks a few inches into the orc's flesh and then just stops, stuck in its dense muscle. He tries to pull it free, but it won't budge. He's completely disarmed as the orc looms over him. The monster raises its other fist, preparing a devastating punch. Just as it's about to strike, Asher calls out to Parik, telling him to get back. Parik scrambles away just in time. He survived, but he's shaken to his core. He turns to Asher, panicked, yelling that he couldn't get his sword back. Asher calmly explains that the orc's durability and recovery speed were strengthened after it ate that goblin. Parik can't believe it. He's never heard of an orc this strong. He wonders if it's some kind of legendary monster. Asher's reply is simple and cutting. It's not that. Parik is stunned. How can something this powerful not be special? Asher quickly lists the facts. It has regeneration, gets stronger by eating things, and can command its underlings. It's strong enough to overwhelm knights. It's definitely not a normal orc. But if that's all it can do, a confident smirk appears on Asher's face. Then it's far too weak to be called a special entity. Asher knows there's a limit to what normal magic can do. No matter how much mana you pour into a spell, it can't expand past a certain scale. That is the fundamental rule of magic. But, as he knows better than anyone, there's one spell that doesn't have that limit: geography manipulation. He brings his hands together, a cube of pure light forming between his palms. A golden magic circle expands from his feet, covering the entire clearing in an instant. The ground begins to tremble violently, cracks racing across the earth as a massive surge of mana erupts from Asher's body. The soldiers lose their footing, stumbling as the world shakes around them. They cry out in fear, first monsters and now an earthquake. One of them screams that they're all going to die. But Enoch recognizes the source and yells for everyone to remain calm. This is Asher's magic. But even as he says it, he looks on in utter disbelief. How can anyone remain calm when the very landscape is being torn apart and reshaped before their eyes? With a deafening roar, the ground splits open, swallowing the entire monster horde. Goblins and orcs alike fall into a massive chasm. Even the evolved orc is brought to its knees. Standing on the edge of the newly formed cliff, Asher raises one hand. A brilliant, sun-like orb of fire materializes above him. He sends the massive fireball plummeting into the pit, turning the chasm into a raging inferno. Perek is ecstatic, yelling for them to burn. Enoch has to tell him to maintain some dignity. But Perek can't help himself, saying that watching them get blown away is just so satisfying. Asher watches the flames, analyzing his own spell. Third-tier geography. Manipulation has no limit, but the massive mana cost isn't usually worth the destructive force. He's a little disappointed. With his current mana pool, the result is below his expectations. Suddenly, a guttural roar echoes from the flames below. Asher's eyes snap open, his expression hardening. Emerging from the inferno, charred but very much alive, is the evolved orc. Its body crackles with energy as it endures the heat. It's still not dead. Perek screams in terror, asking what they're supposed to do now. Asher's expression remains calm as a new plan forms. If it doesn't want to burn to death, he casts another spell, Wave. A massive torrent of water surges from his hands, crashing down into the fiery pit and extinguishing the flames in a cloud of steam. Perek screams his name, not understanding the strategy. Asher raises the wand he took from the bandit mage. Multi-ice arrows, winter gust. His voice is cold and absolute. Then I'll freeze it to death. He unleashes a blizzard of ice magic into the chasm. He uses double casting again, combining the two spells into bitter cold arrows. The monster roars in defiance, but the cold is already slowing it down, a layer of frost spreading across its red skin. Asher's logic is flawless. Even if it can regenerate endlessly or doesn't feel pain, it won't matter. If its body freezes, it won't be able to move. A glowing sphere of pure cold forms in his hand. He unleashes his final attack, Frozen Orb. The sphere hits the orc dead on, exploding in a flash of icy energy. The monster is completely encased in a tomb of jagged ice. It's over. Conquest complete. Far away from the bloody battlefield lies the bustling magic city of Virento, a place of towering white spires and advanced civilization. Two men sit at an outdoor cafe discussing the latest news. One of them can't believe what he's reading. The Bohemian magic tower is sealed off? Its energy source exploded? He asks his companion if he really trusts that story. We see a group of mages in dark robes walking through the city. They complain that most of the tower's mages have disappeared and all its functions have stopped. The official story doesn't seem to account for the scale of the damage. The mustached man continues, saying the public is calling it divine punishment or maybe a man-made disaster. His companion wonders if any letters came from the tower while they were away. The mustached man slams his fist on the table, declaring that someone must have plotted to seal the tower. He insists there's no way the Bohemian magic tower would ever seal itself off. He leans in to gossip, whispering that he heard the tower was conducting secret experiments and was attacked because of them. Suddenly, a hand grabs his collar, spilling his drink. A sharp, intense voice demands, "Say that again." The man is terrified, asking what's going on. We see a young woman with long, vibrant red hair. Her eyes are blazing with fierce determination. It's Rovelyn. Her voice is low and dangerous as she asks, "What happened to the Bohemian magic tower? A job that started with bandits and ended with a nightmare is finally over." Back in the safety of the castle, the survivors celebrate with a loud cheer, clinking their mugs together in victory. After the subjugation team returned to Baron Pythe's domain, The grand hall is filled with soldiers and knights, all drinking and laughing, the tension of battle replaced with the warmth of camaraderie. To commemorate their success, Baron Pythe held a magnificent banquet for everyone involved. The Baron raises his glass, praising everyone for their hard work. He calls it a miracle. There were no casualties, then looks around the room, wondering where Asher is. Just as he asks, Asher makes his entrance, now dressed in fine, formal attire. He adjusts his collar, a slight smile on his face as he asks if he's too late. The Baron's face lights up. He throws an arm around Asher, telling him he's right on time, and immediately offering him a glass of wine. Asher thanks him, then comments that he didn't expect the Baron to invite common soldiers to such a fancy banquet. The Baron just smiles, saying they all worked hard to protect the territory, so why should social status matter? Changing the subject, the Baron asks about the bandits they fought, noting that they seemed unusually strong. Asher agrees, confirming they were different from the usual thugs. Asher takes a sip of wine, thinking back to the bandits' skills. They were organized and disciplined, not like people who needed to rob just to survive. The Baron nods, saying Asher's intuition is correct. An attendant hands Asher a scroll, explaining that it should clear things up. The report reveals the truth. The bandits were actually wanted criminals. They were originally gold-rank adventurers who had murdered their comrades and fled a year or two ago, forming a bandit gang in his territory. Asher reads the report. Gold rank is the 4th highest among adventurers. Now he understands the 10 million elk bounty on their heads. It all clicks into place. That's why the Baron looked so pleased. If the subjugation had proceeded without him, the damage would have been severe. As he's thinking, he notices something strange. The Baron is looking at him with wide, sparkling eyes, his face flushed with admiration. Asher stammers, asking why he's looking at him like that. The Baron bursts out with praise, gushing that Asher not only dealt with the bandits but also the evolved orc. The Adventurers Guild has even sent their official thanks. Asher just sips his wine, thinking the Baron has had a little too much to drink. The Baron composes himself, clearing his throat. He continues, explaining that thanks to Asher, they also rescued the villagers who had been taken by the bandits. With a grand gesture, the Baron raises his glass high, proposing a toast to Asher, the mage who saved his territory. The entire hall erupts in a cheer to Sir Asher, as everyone raises their glass. For Asher, this experience was completely different from the cold, sterile atmosphere of the Magic Tower. Here, knights and soldiers drink until they pass out on the table. It's a place where everyone, regardless of social status, enjoys themselves, united in spirit. Unlike the Magic Tower that treated him with nothing but cold disdain, he even gets attention from one of the maids, a stark contrast to his old life. He remembers the faces of his old colleagues, their expressions of contempt forever burned into his memory. This warm, unpretentious place, Verdun found he actually liked it. As one of the knights drunkenly slings an arm around him, forcing a mug into his hands, for the first time since escaping that hell, Asher allows himself to smile. A genuine, unguarded smile. Meanwhile, far away, Rovalyn stands before the Bohemern Magic Tower, fully aware of the chaos its collapse would bring. But when she arrives, the tower is still standing. She breathes a sigh of relief, thinking the rumors were exaggerated. Just then, an old acquaintance calls out to her. She turns to another mage. He confirms she's back from Verento and gives her the official story. The power source went berserk and devastated the area. She's just glad it's more intact than she expected. But she has only one question on her mind. By the way, where's Verdun? The other mage flinches, his face falling as he struggles to find the words. His silence is all the answer she needs. He leads her to a public notice board. A long list of names is posted under a grim heading, List of Missing Persons. Her eyes scan the names, her heart pounding with dread. She sees the faces of colleagues she knew. A horrible feeling washes over her. It can't be. There's no way. And then she sees it. A portrait of a young man with familiar brown hair. Verdun's face. The world seems to freeze. What is this? She whispers. She remembers him saying he was going to study in Verento, just like her. A flood of memories comes rushing back. The Tower Master congratulating him. Him telling her he'd still be here when she got back. The reality crashes down on her. Does this mean she can never see Verdun again? She covers her face, a choked sob escaping her lips. Her grief quickly turns into a burning, uncontrollable rage. To lose Verdun like this, her most precious friend, someone like family, lost. A silent scream of pure anguish rips from her soul as her mana flares violently. "Stop it!" A hand gently rests on her head. A calm voice tells her that taking her frustrations out on others won't change anything. She looks up, her eyes filled with tears, and sees a tall, dark-haired man in elegant robes. She recognizes him as Mr. Valdec. She falls to her knees, her voice trembling, as she asks him what exactly happened at the Magic Tower. Valdec helps her up, explaining the official story. While the high-ranking mages were away, the power source went berserk, annihilating everyone in the central area. Not only that, but all the research data they'd collected for years was completely erased. The treasure vault's magic circle was damaged, causing irreparable harm to the tower's foundation. We see a flashback of the furious tower master, Balrog. Valdec explains that the loss of the Second Circuit, along with countless artifacts, is an immeasurable blow. But the most regrettable loss of all was the loss of Test Subject 77. We see a haunting image of Verdan, chained and broken. Valdec laments that if they had at least recovered the body, they might have salvaged the lost research. He then changes his tone, his voice turning cold. "But at least we can get revenge." He tells her they've found clues about the culprits who caused the incident. Ravelin's eyes widen. She asks what he means. Valdec explains that someone disappeared without a trace just before the power source went berserk, and he's used the power of other magic towers to track that person's past. And as a result, he discovered something. He holds up a necklace with a strange, red, triangular emblem. Ravelin recognizes it instantly. This is the emblem of Black Hour? Black Hour, a shadowy group that uses magic as a means to rule the world. Valdec admits he doesn't know how they infiltrated the tower, but he's certain they're involved. He reveals his plan. He's creating a Black Hour extermination unit to appease the souls of the dead. He tells Ravelin there's a place reserved for her, and judging by her expression, she clenches her fist, her knuckles turning white as blood-red mana crackles around it. Valdec knows he already has his answer. Ravelin's eyes glow with vengeful fury. A few days later, Asher arrives at the Adventurers Guild in Pythe's domain. The guildmaster, a nervous man with glasses, immediately starts apologizing profusely. He explains they set the danger level for the orc as high as possible and sent gold-rank adventurers, but they never expected an outcome like this. Asher calmly sips his tea, telling him, "It's all right." The guildmaster thanks him for his understanding and presents him with the reward certificate. Asher looks over the payment. The total comes to 24 million elk, but after taxes, only 12 million is left. The guildmaster quickly explains that it's mandated by imperial law. Non-guild members have to pay a 50% tax on all rewards. But, he adds with a sly smile, there is one legal way to avoid this tax. Asher cuts him off, already knowing the answer. "You want me to become an adventurer, right?" The guildmaster is ecstatic. He confirms it, explaining that the higher an adventurer's rank, the lower their tax, and since Asher is a special case, they can start him directly at silver rank. He pushes an application form across the table, but Asher doesn't move. Becoming an adventurer would just restrict his future actions. What's more important to him now than money? He smiles brightly and interrupts the guildmaster's sales pitch. "That's enough. Please process the payment as is." The guildmaster is left stunned, unable to understand why anyone would walk away from such a golden opportunity. But Asher knows who he is. Even after 7 years of torment, at his core, he is, and always will be, a mage. Later, he stands in the vast cold storage of the Adventurers Guild, and to him, being a mage means being a researcher. It means chasing down mysteries, which is why the body of the variant orc lies before him. Dressed in proper research gear, he pulls back the sheet covering the hulking corpse. "It's time to begin." He notes with appreciation that the guild uses a preservation artifact, keeping the specimen in perfect condition for analysis. Still, the moment the sheet is fully removed, the stench hits him like a wall. Its state is far from pristine. His examination begins, his gloved fingers probing the tough skin around the creature's eye. His initial analysis is simple. It was bigger and had a torn mouth, but it lacked the intelligence or characteristics of a higher species, like an orc lord. Crouching beside the body, he forms a hypothesis. This isn't a natural evolution, it's a mutation. But that answer alone doesn't feel right. Even for a mutation, its abilities were far too powerful to be explained so easily. the monstrous strength, the rapid regeneration. It was too much. As he thinks, his eyes are drawn to a peculiar mark on the orc's back, a scar. He leans in for a closer look. The orc's regenerative power was strong enough to heal torn flesh and burned skin almost instantly. So why couldn't it heal this one small wound? There's only one logical explanation. The orc gained its powers after receiving this injury. This wasn't a battle scar. It was an injection mark, the sign of a ritual used to artificially grant a new power. He sits back, the chilling implication settling over him. This wasn't a random mutation. Someone is out there deliberately creating these monster variants, and that is the worst-case scenario. Sometime later, Asher prepares to leave the territory. Conrad and a knight see him off, with Conrad insisting it's the least he can do for the man who saved his life. Asher examines the gifts they've brought him, a mana-boosting robe and ring. He feels he's been given too much already, but the knight assures him it's a well-deserved reward. With Conrad nodding in agreement, Asher simply accepts their kindness with gratitude. He wishes them well and turns to leave. As he walks away, Conrad calls out, telling him to use his name if he ever needs help from the Merchant Guild. With a final wave, Asher melts into the forest, continuing his journey alone. His path leads him to a small, bustling village on the border between the Pyth and Martez territories. He lands silently, canceling his flight magic and pulling his hood up to blend in with the locals. He figures it's a good place to rest for the night before heading to the next city in the morning. While taking a bite of an apple, he overhears a frustrated villager muttering nearby. The men look troubled, complaining about their situation. Sensing there might be something useful to learn, Asher focuses his attention. He decides it's worth a closer listen. He discreetly casts a spell, letting the wind carry their words directly to his ears. The first thing he hears is a complaint about goblins causing trouble. One man laments that after their livestock was taken, they had to spend a fortune hiring adventurers for a job they thought they could handle themselves. Another villager reminds him that the chief made the right call. Subjugating goblins is a job for professionals. It's better than getting someone hurt. To common folk, goblins are a serious threat. What starts as petty theft can escalate into full-blown raids on villages. Calling for adventurers at the first sign of trouble is the standard and wisest course of action. Asher finishes his apple, thinking it's just a routine monster problem. Nothing out of the ordinary. But then, one of the men lowers his voice, asking about a rumor, something a hunter named James supposedly saw in the forest. His friend quickly tries to silence him, reminding him the village chief ordered everyone to keep quiet about it. Asher's interest is suddenly piqued. Ignoring the warning, the man continues the story. He says a hunter was checking his traps a few days ago. Suddenly, he heard the squeal of a wild boar. When he looked, he saw it. A goblin bigger than an orc, with a hideously torn mouth, devouring the boar whole. The other man gasps, whispering that if the adventurers hear about a monster like that, they'll demand more money. Asher quietly dispels his magic, having heard enough. He slips back into the shadows, a slow smile spreading across his face. A large goblin with a torn mouth. Now isn't that interesting? That description is far too specific to be a simple coincidence. He's found a trail. Deep in that same forest, a party of 4 silver-rank adventurers moves with purpose. A spear crackles with energy as it soars through the trees. It finds its mark, striking a goblin scout squarely between the eyes and dropping it without a sound. The spear wielder, Myrna, celebrates her perfect shot, but her teammate, Toke, is unimpressed. He scoffs at her for bragging about hitting a stationary target. Their leader, a mage named Iris, cuts them short, reminding them they're on a mission. She turns to their scout, Mild, asking for a report on any goblin activity. Mild points ahead towards a dark opening in the rock face, a cave fortified with crude banners and skulls, looking every bit like a goblin lair. Consulting her book, Iris identifies the totems as a sign of a higher species, hobgoblins. She concludes that as long as they navigate the terrain carefully, the mission is manageable. She gives the order to destroy the warning totems before they advance. With a quick chant, Iris casts a support spell. A green light envelops the party, and Myrna gasps as her vision pierces the darkness. Toke grins, remarking that their leader is as reliable as ever. With their preparations complete, Iris gives the final command, and the party moves toward the mouth of the cave. Just as she's about to enter, Iris pauses, a flicker of uncertainty on her face. Myrna asks her what's wrong. She shakes her head, dismissing it as nothing. But for a split second, she could have sworn she felt a trace of mana nearby. The forest outside the cave is silent and empty. Or so it seems. From the cover of the dense bushes, a hidden figure watches the adventurers disappear into the darkness. Deep inside a jagged cave, a silver rank party steps into the darkness, unaware that the most dangerous thing in this den isn't the monster they were hired to kill, but the secret someone is willing to kill to protect. The air is thick with smoke and rot. Goblins huddle around a crackling fire, chanting mindlessly, while a crude totem of impaled skulls stands as a grim warning to any intruder. Suddenly, one of the goblins looks up, its pointed ears twitching. It catches a faint glint of light from the shadows of the tunnel entrance. Before it can sound the alarm, an arrow zips through the dark and finds its mark. The goblin collapses without a sound as its companion shrieks in confusion. With the signal given, the party charges. Mild and Toke are a blur of steel, cutting through the disorganized goblins before they can even mount a defense. Myrna wipes a splash of blood from her cheek with a grin, feeling confident that this job will be over in no time. But their leader, Iris, isn't celebrating. She warns her to stay focused, reminding her that it's not over yet. The first wave is down. The four adventurers stand ready, peering deeper into the cavern. So far, a standard goblin extermination. Myrna suspects a hobgoblin might be further in and volunteers to scout. Iris agrees, telling her to be careful and to signal if she finds anything. As Myrna steps into the next chamber, she freezes. The cavern is massive, and the floor is a carpet of dead goblins. It's a scene of silent, brutal slaughter. Her eyes widen in shock. This wasn't a fight, it was a one-sided massacre. What could have possibly done this? When Toka calls out to her, Myrna's voice is shaky. A sound from the shadows just sent a feeling of pure dread down her spine. A wet, crunching noise echoes through the cavern. It's the sound of something large, feeding. And there it is, a hulking, grotesque goblin, far larger than any they've seen, crouched over a corpse, tearing into it with its bare hands. This is what killed all the others. The rest of the party rushes in, their faces draining of color as they take in the horrific sight. Iris's mind races. A mutated variant, eating its own kind? This wasn't in the mission briefing. Their simple C-rank request had just turned into a fight for their lives. But panic is a luxury they can't afford. Iris takes command, her voice steady. She tells them it's huge, but if that's its only advantage, they can win. She quickly lays out a plan. Myrna will take its right eye, Mild and Tolk will draw its attention, and she will deliver the final blow. Myrna doesn't hesitate. Green energy gathers at the tip of her spear as she leaps into the air, aiming straight for the monster's head. Her spear finds its mark, piercing through the goblin's eye with a sickening squelch. The monster roars in agony. Toke yells for Mild to raise his shield as the two warriors move in to engage the blinded, raging beast. His sword glowing with blue energy, Toke charges forward, ready to keep the pressure on. He unleashes a powerful slash, cutting deep into the monster's leg to keep its attention focused on him. For a split second, he thinks the attack was a success. But his relief is cut short as a massive, clawed hand swats him aside like an insect. With the warriors holding its attention, Iris begins her incantation. Golden magic circles spin to life as she gathers power for a mana burst. She thrusts her hands forward, unleashing a devastating volley of magical blasts that slam into the giant goblin's chest. The monster howls in pain, staggering backward under the force of the assault. Enraged, the creature does something unthinkable. It grabs a dead goblin from the floor and winds up to throw it. Toke can only stare in disbelief. He's never seen a monster use its own kind as a projectile. The corpse hurtles through the air, aimed directly at Iris. Her teammates scream for her to get down. But it's too late. Suddenly, a bolt of blue lightning flashes out of nowhere, vaporizing the projectile in a brilliant explosion just feet from her face. The shockwave throws Iris to the ground. She's alive, but completely stunned. Dazed, she looks up from the cavern floor, trying to understand what just happened. In that moment of confusion, another projectile flies through the air. This time, a single, silent arrow sinks deep into the goblin's remaining eye. Blinded and critically wounded, the massive beast finally crashes to the ground, its rampage over. The party rushes to Iris, frantically checking if she's all right. She's shaken but unharmed, her mind reeling from the impossible rescue. She knows that if that projectile had hit her, she'd be dead. But something changed its trajectory. A lightning bolt and a perfectly aimed arrow, it made no sense. Toke, just happy to be alive, declares the mission a success and urges them to head back for their reward, ready to forget the strange events. But they were never alone. From behind a rock, Asher materializes, his invisibility fading. A small smile plays on his lips. He was their unseen guardian. He approaches the corpse, his expression turning analytical. He followed them here because he needed to see one of the lab's mutated specimens with his own eyes. He reflects on his findings. Every test subject he's found shares one trait, a mouth torn into a gruesome grin. It's why he calls them jesters. But this one was different. Unlike the orc he dissected, this goblin lacked enhanced strength or regenerative abilities. He wonders if it was just a natural anomaly, or perhaps a failed experiment. As he analyzes the monster, his thoughts drift back to the party's mage, Iris. Meanwhile, Iris is already back in leader mode, ordering her team to search the side tunnels for any remaining goblins. Asher continues his assessment. She has quick judgment and an unusually high sensitivity to mana. He realizes now that she genuinely sensed his presence outside the cave. Her talent was real. He sighs, disappointed that the specimen yielded no new information. But just as he turns to leave, he feels a new presence. His eyes narrow. A man in black strolls into the chamber with a theatrical air. "Someone came by while I was away," he says, his voice unsettlingly smooth. The adventurers run right into him. Iris immediately raises her staff, her instincts screaming danger. She demands to know who he is. The man gives a slight, mocking bow. "My apologies," he says with a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. "I'm the caretaker of this place. You know, the one you've just trashed." He gestures to the dead goblin, explaining that its instincts overrode its programming, exposing this location. "A failure of brain manipulation," he muses. He turns back to the party, an inquisitive look on his face, asking if they noticed any unusual behaviors from the goblin. When they stay silent, he sighs dramatically, muttering that if the professor finds out, he'll be furious. Then his demeanor flips. The worried look vanishes, replaced by a chillingly bright smile. "But what's done is done," he says. "Best to start with what I can fix, which means none of you are leaving here alive." Toke steps forward, asking if he's serious about fighting all four of them alone. The caretaker calmly confirms it. They are witnesses, and he cannot allow any. Desperate, Iris tries to reason with him, offering their silence in exchange for their lives. But the man just scoffs, his friendly mask melting away to reveal a twisted, sadistic grin. Dark energy swirls around him as he leans in. "To be honest, I just really want to hear you scream." A crushing malice presses down on the adventurers. He looks them over like a predator choosing its prey. So then, who wants to be first? Just as despair sets in, a new voice cuts through the silence. "The only one who's going to fall here is you." The caretaker pauses, confused. The voice came from behind him. He whips his head around, his face twisting in anger. Who said that? He never finishes the question. A massive blast of blue magic erupts from the shadows and slams into him, sending him flying. Asher steps out of the darkness, landing silently on the stone floor. He calmly looks at the man he just struck down, repeating his own twisted words back at him. The caretaker is on his knees, clutching his side, staring up in disbelief. Asher continues, his voice cold and steady. "You're the one trying to act tough here." Blue mana crackles around Asher's hand as he prepares another spell. He looks down at the shocked and wounded caretaker, his eyes glowing with power, and asks, "Don't you agree?" Asher steps from the shadows, his expression unreadable. He never intended to reveal himself. But if he hadn't, the man before him would have slaughtered the adventurers, and any chance of getting answers would have died with them. His gaze drifts to the fallen goblin. The caretaker had called it a test subject, confirming all of Asher's suspicions. He also mentioned a professor working behind the scenes. The pieces were finally starting to connect. This was all tied to the mutated jesters. As the caretaker staggers to his feet, his eyes burn with rage. "Who are you?" he demands. Asher just smirks, a new magic circle already forming at his fingertips. He feels no need to answer. The caretaker wipes the blood from his mouth, his arrogance returning. "Fine, it doesn't matter," he snarls. He explodes forward in a blur of purple energy, his rapier aimed straight for Asher's heart. "You'll be gone in a moment anyway." But Asher is ready. Brilliant orange magic circles flare to life as he calmly unleashes a volley of flame arrows. The caretaker moves with impossible speed, weaving through the fireballs, his blade deflecting any that come too close. He closes the distance in an instant, his purple aura pulsing with deadly intent. Asher summons a barrier just in time, the rapier striking it with a deafening crack. The barrier shatters, but it bought him the split second he needed. With a pulse of mana, he launches himself backward, creating distance. The caretaker grunts, surprised by the sudden, explosive movement. He can't believe it. Reinforcing his legs with energy is a swordsman's technique, not something a mage should be able to do. Asher analyzes his opponent. The man's strikes were light, but his speed was on another level. Asher grips his staff, annoyed. He'd underestimated him. This wouldn't be a one-hit victory. He would have to change his strategy. This man was a high-level opponent. The caretaker smirks, complimenting Asher's quick casting. He vows to simply increase his own speed. He becomes a blur once more, charging forward with a challenge. Let's see you handle this. But this time, Asher is prepared. 2 magic circles, one blue and one green, spin to life. He's layering spells, a wind gale and a barrage of icicles. Double casting. The caretaker's eyes widen in disbelief. Simultaneous ice and wind magic? He grits his teeth, realizing he might be in over his head. Asher unleashes the spell. A storm of razor-sharp ice, propelled by a howling gale, shoots towards his target. The man moves desperately, twisting and dodging, his sword a blur as he deflects the shards. Double casting is impressive, he thinks, but it's useless if it doesn't hit. Seeing an opening, he lunges forward, aiming to strike while Asher recovers. He closes the distance, his sword poised to run Asher through from behind. But Asher doesn't even turn. A faint shimmer of blue magic appears around his body. In a move that defies all logic, Asher ducks under the swing with inhuman speed and parries the blade with his staff. The caretaker is stunned. A mere mage dodged his attack? From the sidelines, Iris is just as shocked. How could a mage possibly react that fast? Asher looks up, his blue eyes glowing, and speaks a single word. Ignition. A massive fireball explodes at point-blank range, engulfing the caretaker and shaking the entire cavern. The intense heat instantly melts the leftover ice, filling the air with a thick, blinding steam as water rains down from the ceiling. The caretaker emerges from the smoke, bruised and furious. He snarls that Asher deliberately lured him in for a counterattack, a trick that won't work a second time. Asher's voice cuts through the steam. Then, from now on, I'll fight like a proper mage. A massive blue magic circle spreads out beneath his feet, and the caretaker feels a sudden, chilling dread. The ground beneath the adventurers begins to shake violently. A huge pillar of rock erupts from the floor, lifting them high toward the cavern ceiling. They cling to the rock, terrified, as it continues to rise. Finally, it stops. As a fellow mage, Iris recognizes the spell with utter disbelief. Terrain? Manipulation? In actual combat? The mana cost should be astronomical. Double casting, large-scale spells fired in rapid succession, his mana reserves were monstrous. She'd never seen anything like it. Below, Asher floats in the air, surrounded by crackling energy, a figure of absolute power. The caretaker scoffs, trying to regain his composure. What's this? You run into the air and think I can't reach you? But then, a thought strikes him. Why raise the adventurers up there? Why waste so much mana? A cold realization dawns as he looks down at his feet. The ground is covered in a shallow pool of water from the melted ice. He finally understands. The fire spell wasn't just an attack, it was set up. A faint blue spark crackles in the water. His face contorts in panic. Wait, no way! But it's too late. The trap is sprung. From her high perch, Iris sees it first. A brilliant blue light begins to emanate from Asher. And is that lightning magic? A torrent of raw electricity erupts from his body. It surges downwards, striking the pool of water below. The caretaker is frozen in shock. Only a handful of the most elite mages can even use the lightning element. Asher calmly completes the spell, his hand gesturing towards the water. The entire cavern floor explodes in a blinding flash of electricity, the water acting as a perfect conductor. The caretaker is caught in the middle of it, his body convulsing as thousands of volts course through him. In his last moments, a single thought burns through the pain. Who in the world is this guy? A wave of relief washes over the adventurer party. They slowly get to their feet, staring down at the scene in stunned awe. The cavern is silent, save for the dripping of water. Asher approaches his defeated foe. "Let me ask you one thing," he says, his voice flat. "There was an orc in the Pyth barony, much like that goblin. Are they connected to this professor of yours?" The caretaker coughs up blood, understanding dawning in his eyes. "So you're the one who handled that. No wonder it went quiet." He looks up at Asher with a new question. "Are you from the Ark?" Asher's eyes narrow slightly. "The Ark?" He's never heard the name. Seeing his confusion, the man presses him for an answer. "Where is the professor?" Asher replies simply that he's interested in their experiments. The caretaker knows he can't let this man get to the professor. He makes a decision. "All right," he says, "the professor is, but it's a lie." His real plan is to take Asher down with him. He lunges forward, channeling his last ounce of strength into a suicidal attack. He aims a final, desperate slash. Asher's face is a mask of cold disappointment. "So that's your answer." With a single, simple spell, the ground erupts. With a brutal finality, the caretaker is killed. Asher stands over the body, frustrated. His only lead on the jesters is gone. He turns his gaze up toward the adventurers, still stranded on their rock pillar. What's done is done. It's time to deal with them. His silhouette is framed by the dim cavern light, his eyes glowing. His voice echoes through the silence, carrying an absolute, unquestionable authority. "From now on, all of you will have to follow my orders." Back in the village, the air is thick with tension. The adventurers stand before the man who now holds their fate in his hands. Iris reports to Asher, holding up a heavy bag of coins. Just as he ordered, she told the village chief they'd report the mutated goblin, and he paid extra to keep them quiet. Asher nods. A simple, effective form of blackmail. A little fear goes a long way. Iris, eager to be done with him, tells him their business is finished, but Asher stops her, holding the bag of money back out. "Wait, take this." She's completely confused. He states it plainly. "It's your commission payment." He isn't just paying them off, he's hiring them. He looks toward the horizon, naming his destination, the city of Martez. His request is simple and direct. "Guide me there." It isn't a request, it's an order, and they have no choice but to accept. And so, after the chaos in the cave, Asher began his journey to Martez with the Iris party as his reluctant guides. On the way, Iris, a dedicated mage, couldn't help but ask him about magic theory. Asher, a researcher at heart, answered her questions, and before they knew it, the sprawling city of Martez was in sight. Asher looks at the city with a slight smirk. A place this large will definitely have a bank. Perfect. The party splits up, leaving Iris to guide Asher. When she asks where he needs to go, he lays out his list, claim a bounty, and open a bank account. City Hall is their first stop. She eagerly tells him to follow, boasting that she knows the city like the back of her hand. Her party members watch with concern. They saw him kill the caretaker without hesitation, yet their leader seems completely unfazed. She's adapting to this new, brutal reality a little too well. Their first stop is the Grand Martez City Hall, where all official business is handled. Asher immediately hits a snag. A guard blocks his path, demanding identification. In his escape, he never thought to create a new ID. Luckily, he came prepared. He presents a letter of endorsement from Baron Pyth. The guard's attitude changes instantly, and he's waved inside. Things get even smoother when the mayor himself, a large and jolly man, bursts into the room. He's already heard all about Asher's heroic deeds. The mayor explains that his own family lives in the Baron's territory and thanks Asher profusely for saving their home. As a token of his gratitude, he offers his full assistance. He even issues Asher a brand new, official ID on the spot. A problem that could have taken days is solved in an instant. With his new identity secured, Asher is now free to open a bank account, a crucial step in his plan. He still has the account he used as Verdan, but if he touched that money, the magic tower would trace him in an instant. For now, it remains an untouchable emergency fund. Next, they visit a forge. Asher presents an artifact from the tower, the Second Circuit, and asks for it to be fashioned into a staff. The smith says it'll take 3 days. In the meantime, he's given a temporary staff with a large purple crystal. It will have to do. When Iris asks why he prefers a staff, Asher replies that he's used to it from sweeping a lot. He leaves the real meaning, 7 years of cleaning floors in a prison, unspoken. Their final stop for the day is the impressive Martez City Library. Asher asks for books on enhancement magic. Iris says they'll have some, but probably nothing advanced enough for a mage of his caliber. That's fine, he says. Just the basics will do. Iris, trying to be helpful, asks how many books he needs. His answer is simple and utterly shocking. All of them. Inside, a librarian stammers as he approaches the mountain of books Asher has piled onto a table. "Excuse me, sir, you can't do that here." Asher calmly slides his new bank card across the desk. He tells the man to charge the rental fees and have every book delivered to the top floor of the Lorix Hotel. All of them. The librarian and Iris both stare in complete shock, the librarian's panic quickly turning into sheer joy at the massive commission. Later, at a cafe, Iris is completely drained. She collapses onto the table, exhausted from just following Asher around on his bizarrely efficient errands. She looks up at him, already engrossed in a book. "Who is this guy?" Oblivious, Asher asks if she's had enough of a tour. He says it's enough, for today. The word today hangs in the air, a chilling reminder that this isn't over. She finally asks the question that's been on her mind all day. "I never asked your name. What should I call you?" Without looking up, he replies, "Asher, but call me whatever you'd like." Iris brightens immediately. "Then I'll call you Sunbays." The respectful term for a senior. Asher looks up, slightly confused by the title. Seeing her chance, Iris leans in, her expression serious, and asks why he was really in that cave. Asher hesitates. The truth is far too complicated. He decides on a half-truth. "At the time," he begins, "I was chasing someone." Iris's eyes widen in realization. She remembers him questioning the caretaker about an orc and someone called the Professor. Her imagination runs wild. Is this all connected to that professor? "Don't tell me, Sunbay. Are you some kind of secret agent hunting a hidden organization?" Asher decides to let her believe it. "I didn't get much out of it, though," he says, closing his book. "That's enough for today. You can go." Iris insists on walking him back to his hotel, and he doesn't argue. Outside the hotel, she waves goodbye cheerfully. "Have a good night, Sunbay. See you tomorrow." As soon as she's out of sight, she lets out a huge sigh of relief. The day was incredibly stressful. She collapses onto a nearby bench. "The more I see him, the weirder he gets. He can control every element and has a magic reserve so deep she can't even begin to measure it. He knows more theory than her professors, and on top of it all, he's handsome. But talking to him feels empty, like talking to a scarecrow devoid of any real emotion." She grabs her own face, blushing furiously. "Ugh, why do I keep thinking about his face?" Shaking it off, she gets serious again. He's the most skilled mage she's ever met, a once-in-a-lifetime encounter. Her determination returns. "Tomorrow, I'll ask him everything about elemental magic." But as she stands, a massive explosion rips through the night. She whips around, her face pale with shock. The source of the explosion is terrifyingly familiar. The Lorix Hotel. The entire building is engulfed in flames. Her heart sinks. That's where Sunbay is staying. Her eyes dart to the fire, and she sees it. A human-shaped figure floating in the air. A cold dread washes over her, and she recognizes the silhouette. Floating calmly amidst the inferno is Asher, his eyes glowing with an intense blue light. The strange, quiet mage she just spent the day with is at the very heart of the destruction. As Asher settles into his new life, the ripples of his actions have already reached their source. In a dimly lit lab, a hooded figure delivers a grim report. Surgeon is gone. The man he reports to, an older researcher with sharp glasses, doesn't even turn. "Who was it?" he asks, his voice like ice. The agent explains they found traces of offensive magic in the cave. He was taken out by someone else. He slowly turns, his face a mask of fury. "You aren't understanding me," he seethes. His voice rises to a roar. "I asked, who killed Surgeon? This is the professor, and he is not a patient man." The agent admits they don't have a name yet, only that an adventurer party was in the area. The professor sighs. Surgeon was useful. He confirms their entire operation in the area has been wiped clean, a complete failure with no leads left behind. The professor glares at him with contempt. "You should have dealt with the killer then and there, you useless fool." He begins to pace. 2 test subjects in the Pyth Barony, and now the Goblin and Surgeon. It's too many coincidences to be random. A worried look crosses his face. The experiment is almost finished. Don't tell me those pests from the Ark already caught on? He turns back to his subordinate, his voice dangerously low. Don't come back until the culprit is dead. The agent bows his head, accepting the order. As soon as he's gone, the agent, Mildang, curses the old man under his breath. But an order is an order. He pulls up his mask, grim determination in his eyes. He will bring back the killer's head, no matter what. Meanwhile, in the Lorix Hotel, Asher is surrounded by books, practicing basic enhancement magic. Suddenly, a cloaked figure materializes behind him. There you are. Asher continues his practice, muttering about the inefficiency of standard monet detection. The assassin, Mildang, prepares to strike from behind, thinking this will be over in an instant. He raises his dagger, then pauses. The room is too quiet. Asher hasn't reacted at all. Suddenly, Mildang recognizes the faint magical signature. A detection spell. Before he can move, a spike of rock erupts from the floor right where he was standing. He dodges back, cursing. His stealth had been completely seen through. And that brings us back to the moment the hotel exploded in a massive fireball. Asher stands amidst the flames, staff in hand, his eyes glowing. He needed to flush the assassin out, and this was the most efficient way. From the panicked crowd below, Mildang stares in disbelief. He's insane! Using explosion magic in a confined space like that? A mage this powerful is at least third tier. Mildang knows he's outmatched and needs to retreat. To cover his escape, he screams into the crowd. A mage is causing a terror attack. Chaos erupts as people scatter in fear. Asher ignores them completely. His focus is singular. An assassin who can bypass his mana sense is a threat that must be eliminated. But in his panic, the assassin made a fatal error. His stealth technique can hide his presence, but it can't erase it completely. To Asher's enhanced senses, the assassin stands out like a black hole in a sea of panicked mana signatures. There's nowhere to hide. Asher fires a blast of magic directly into that void, forcing Mildang to dodge out into the open. Mildang is furious. How did he see me? He can't believe this mage is firing spells without any regard for the civilians. As Mildang tries to flee, Asher calmly raises his staff, a new magic circle forming. A volley of magical arrows rains down, forcing the assassin to duck and weave through the chaotic streets. The projectiles shred the environment around him as he barely stays one step ahead of the onslaught. Asher watches from above as the assassin ducks into a nearby building. He lands softly in the ruined courtyard, staff at the ready. Mildang looks around the rundown building. It's full of vagrants. Perfect. He can use them as human shields. An annoyed man approaches Asher, demanding to know what's going on. Asher ignores him, asking where the man who just ran in went. The vagrant smirks, seeing an opportunity for a quick payday. Information costs money around here, he says, rubbing his fingers together. Asher sighs. The assassin is cornered in here somewhere. Mildang hides among the crowd, leaping forward with his dagger aimed at Asher's back, through the chest of the vagrant. Asher's patience has run out. He unleashes a powerful shockwave, blasting everyone in the room away from him. The force of the spell sends bodies flying and shatters the stone floor. Mildang lands on his feet and charges again, undeterred. His plan is simple. Bait a defensive spell, use a smoke bomb, and escape in the confusion. He closes in, blade ready. Just cast your barrier, he thinks, anticipating Asher's move. Asher opens his mouth to cast a spell, but Mildang's blood runs cold. That's not a defensive incantation. Instead of a barrier, Asher focuses all his mana into the tip of his staff. A fighting style with no defense. Is he a war mage? The realization comes too late. Asher slams the base of his staff into Mildang's chest, releasing the stored energy in a massive point-blank blast. Mildang coughs up blood, sent flying backward, completely overpowered. Before Asher can finish him, Mildang crushes a magic scroll, shouting for an earth sphere. A dome of rock instantly forms around him, blocking Asher's follow-up attack. Asher immediately counters with a wind blast, shredding the defense. But he's a second too late. The rock crumbles away to reveal nothing. The assassin is gone, leaving only a trail of blood. Asher clicks his tongue in annoyance. Just then, a sharp voice cuts through the silence. "Don't move!" Asher turns to find himself surrounded by city guards, their swords drawn. A captain shouts, For arson and urban terrorism, you're under arrest. A familiar voice cries out from the crowd. It's Iris, her face a mask of horror. Sunbay, what in the world have you done now? That night, in the mayor's office, the leaders of Martez try to make sense of the chaos. The mayor, Henry Dacre, rubs his temples. So, you're telling me this Asher fellow just committed an act of terror? But the adventurer's guildmaster, Oscar, corrects him. No, Mayor. It seems the mage Asher is the victim here. He explains that an assassination attempt is what led to the destructive fight. Oscar believes this is connected to another recent attempt on one of his adventurers, which is why he's leading the investigation himself. The mayor sighs, feeling a little guilty. He must feel wronged, getting caught up in this the moment he arrived. Oscar reports that the damage was minimal, and the only casualty in the slums was a wanted criminal. Conveniently, Asher's collateral damage took a crook off the streets. He continues, mentioning the testimony of an adventurer who was with Asher. She told them everything about the mutant goblin and the first assailant in the cave. But when they investigated the site, there was nothing. No bodies, no traces of a fight. The scene had been wiped completely clean, as if by ghosts. The cave was silent, empty, and unnaturally pristine. The mayor puts it all together. So there's a group targeting adventurers hiding somewhere in my city. The threat is real. Oscar agrees. They tried to assign Asher a bodyguard for his protection, but there's a problem. Rumors of the crazy mage have already spread like wildfire. No one, not the adventurers or the city guards, is willing to get near him. Finally, the mayor makes a decision. He'll have to force one of his own knights to take the job. The next day, Asher waits patiently in a reception room at City Hall. The modification on his real staff is almost done. Once he has it, the real hunt can begin. The door opens, and a young man in shining armor steps inside. "You must be Mr. Asher," he says formally. "I am Jason, vice captain of the Martez Knights. I've been assigned to guard you." He eyes Asher with suspicion. This is the so-called crazy mage? He doesn't look like much. Asher glances up. "A bodyguard." So the charges have been cleared. But Jason has already made up his mind. This kid looks totally green. Asher stands. "Can I leave now?" Jason puffs out his chest. "As long as you are with me." "Too bad," Asher says, walking right past him. "Let's go." Jason is left sputtering, "Hey, wait, where are you going?" And so began a very long, very frustrating afternoon for the vice captain. Hours later, they're still walking. Jason is losing his patience. "Seriously, how far are we going?" Asher calmly reminds him of his own words. "You said there would be no issue." Finally, he stops. "We've arrived." He gestures to a perfectly ordinary-looking brick building. "This is it." Jason is completely baffled. "What? It's just a house. You walked all day to come here?" Asher doesn't answer with words. He raises his staff and, with a brilliant flash of light, blasts the front of the building to splinters. Jason freezes. Yeah, this guy is definitely insane. As the smoke clears, Asher lowers his staff. "I came here to find someone." His blue eyes are sharp and focused. "The assassin who tried to kill me." Jason can't believe it. "You're saying an assassin is here?" Asher simply confirms it. "Yesterday," he explains, "during the fight, I cast a spell the moment I made contact with him. Blue energy flickers around him. It's a tracking spell I recently developed. I call it Traces. Since the spell hasn't been dispelled," he continues, "it means the assassin never even noticed it." Jason stares, a cold sweat on his brow. As the dust settles, Asher notices something new. The blast has revealed a hidden staircase leading down into darkness. An underground passage. A holographic map of mana appears before Asher. The trace signal leads straight down. He turns to Jason. The passage seems to lead outside the city. Jason shakes his head, his face pale. This tunnel isn't on any official map. The implication hits him hard. An unverified passage into the city. It's a massive hole in their security, a hidden path for criminals or worse. He draws his sword, his duty as a knight taking over. "We need to shut it down immediately." But Asher holds up a hand. "First, we pursue the assassin." Jason protests, arguing they should call for backup. Asher shakes his head. "If we do that, we lose him." Without waiting for a response, Asher leaps down into the darkness. Jason is left fuming. Is he ignoring me? But he's a knight. With a frustrated cry, he follows Asher into the tunnel. Deep below, the assassin Mildang is running for his life. "I've wasted too much time," he grits his teeth. After escaping that monster, he had to stop and treat his injuries. He stayed in the hideout too long, trying to erase any possible trace. The image of his boss flashes in his mind. "At this rate, the professor will dispose of me. Should I run?" He shakes his head. "No, there's no escaping. All I can do is hope he shows mercy." He arrives at a hidden door, his heart pounding with dread. He enters the lab, only to be greeted by the professor's mocking voice. "Oh, look who it is. I hear you made quite a mess." The professor's voice drips with sarcasm. "Were you trying to assassinate someone, or announce our presence to the whole city?" Mildang recounts the mission, his voice shaking. He tells him how the mage sensed his presence and unleashed a massive explosion, chasing him through the streets. The professor cuts him off. "And you think he just gave up because of a smoke bomb? Does that really make sense to you?" He adjusts his glasses, his mind racing. A mage that reckless wouldn't give up so easily. It doesn't add up. Then, a horrible realization dawns on him. His eyes snap wide open. "Wait, no!" He lunges at Mildang, grabbing his armor. "Take that off and burn it now." The professor's voice is pure panic. "I said burn it, you fool!" Mildang rips off the armor, and for a split second, a flicker of blue mana flares to life before vanishing. "Why is there mana residue on your armor?" he shrieks. "He cast a tracking spell on you." Panic grips the entire room. "We're leaving now," the professor barks. "Erase the evidence and seal the entrance." But as they scramble to escape, a single blast of energy rips through their lab. Back in the tunnel, Asher feels the connection break. The signal just disappeared. He finally noticed. He and Jason step into the now exposed lab, but it's too bad for him. He raises his newly modified staff, its intricate design glowing with power. It's already too late. For the men hiding in the shadows, time has run out. Asher has found their den. The hunt is over. He takes a moment to assess the room. He recognizes the assassin from before, which means the older man cowering behind him must be the professor. The man glares back, his face twisted with rage. "So you're the crazy mage," he sneers. The Ark sent a real freak this time. The Ark. That's the second time Asher has heard that name. He decides to subdue them first and get answers later. But the assassin is fast, grabbing the professor and leaping out of the way just as Asher's spell hits. The professor shoves him away, furious. "You fool, how could you mess this up so badly? All the assassin can do is apologize." "No choice then," the professor says, already turning to run. "Buy me some time." He abandons his men without a second thought. But Asher isn't letting his real target escape. He fires a volley of magic, but the grunts leap in front of the attack to protect their boss. Mildang turns to face him, sword drawn. "Sorry, but my orders are to stall you." Asher pauses. If he increases the power of his spells, he'll kill the assassin, losing a valuable source of information. Suddenly, Jason rushes past him. "I'll handle things here, so go on ahead." Before Jason can even finish his sentence, Asher is gone, propelled forward by a gust of wind. The knight is left staring at empty space. He left without even saying thanks. He couldn't have gone far. He rounds a corner, his new staff held ready. He stops, covering his nose. That smell. It's the unmistakable cloying stench of rot. He walks down a long hall lined with prison cells. Whatever is in here, it's not good. The professor stands at the end of the hall, a twisted grin on his face. "I'm glad you came. I really wanted to show you my masterpiece." He spreads his arms wide. "So, what do you think of my creations?" From the cells, dozens of glowing red eyes stare out of the darkness. Asher looks at the monstrous figures, his expression unchanging. "The jesters I've seen before, you've made a lot of them." The professor's face contorts with rage. "These are new possibilities, evolved. Of course, these are just the failures, but they're more than enough to stop an intruder like you." He presses a large red button. With a loud clang, the bars of every cell slide open. "Please, enjoy yourself." A horde of grotesque monsters pours out, their eyes glowing with hunger. Asher stands his ground. Taking them out one by one would take all night. He needs to end this quickly. He begins to chant 2 spells at once. A complex magic circle erupts around him. This is devil casting, a forbidden technique for combining spells. He unleashes the result. Thunder wave. A massive tidal wave of pure electricity surges down the hallway. The monsters are instantly engulfed, their bodies convulsing as they're fried by the immense voltage. They don't even have time to scream. The entire horde is wiped out in a single, devastating blast. The professor, caught in the backwash of the spell, collapses to the ground, scorched and paralyzed. That lunatic, he stares in disbelief. The intel said he was 3rd tier, but the way he uses magic, he's at least on the cusp of 4th tier. As Asher walks calmly through the smoldering remains, the professor despairs. Decades of research, all about to be destroyed. I can't let that happen. With his last ounce of strength, he slams his hand down on a large red emergency button. My masterpiece, it's time for you to awaken. From a fluid-filled tank behind him, a pale humanoid figure begins to stir. Asher finally arrives behind the professor. So this is where you ran. The professor spins around, terrified. How did you get past my creations? Asher's voice is flat. Isn't it obvious? I burned them all to ash. The professor starts to shake. Even as failures, they shouldn't have been defeated so easily by a single mage. He knows it now for certain. This man is 4th tier. His eyes dart to the tank behind Asher. What is that thing? Asher asks. A sick, prideful smile spreads across the professor's face. My life's greatest masterpiece. My child. He slams his hand on the console again, his voice rising into a fanatical scream. This is the embodiment of our ideology. Evolution through consumption. This child is the future of humanity. But Asher isn't listening. He thrusts his hand forward, aiming to destroy the console. But he's too late. The button has been pressed. The creature in the tank opens its eyes. All of the professor's twisted dreams are now taking form. The glass shatters, and the creature steps out. Asher finally understands. He wasn't just creating monsters. He was trying to create a new species of human. The professor cackles. That mana of yours. The creature's head snaps towards Asher, its eyes locking onto him. It will now nourish my child. A grotesque, fanged grin splits the creature's face, and a raspy voice echoes through the lab. I'm hungry. Asher's eyes widen slightly. It can speak? The creature, Gluttony, lets out an inhuman shriek and lunges, moving at an impossible speed. Its massive mouth opens wide, saliva dripping from its fangs. You look tasty. But Asher's face is a mask of cold fury. You think you can eat me? He will not be prey. He sees a red aura flare around the creature's hand. It can enhance its own body with energy, a skill that takes humans years to master. And this artificial human can already use it instinctively. It's not just fast, it's a natural-born killer, targeting his blind spots with deadly instinct. He's forced to put up a mana barrier. He has to admit it's an impressive creation. But still, the creature's attack shatters his barrier. It brings its claws down, aiming to tear right through his staff. But Asher is faster. He pivots, redirecting the blow and slamming the creature into the stone floor with the butt of his staff. He looks down at the stunned creation, his blue eyes glowing with absolute confidence. You're no match for me. To survive the deepest hells, you develop certain habits. For Asher, that habit was learning to turn his pain into fuel. He thinks back to his 7 years as a test subject, where he had to constantly suppress his explosive rage. Then, alone in his cell after each torturous experiment, he used those condensed emotions as a driving force to complete the very magic theory that would set him free. His anger kept him sane. His hatred gave him purpose. Perhaps that's why, even now, as this monster lies broken before him, the more his emotions stir, the more his anger rises, the clearer his head becomes, and an icy rationality takes over. He stands over the fallen creature, his mind completely calm as he analyzes his opponent. Its physical abilities are on par with the mutated orc he fought before. Its regeneration is also comparable, but its speed and flexibility are generally superior. It's a more refined killing machine. But that's all there is to it. It's strong, but simple. He easily dodges another wild swing as the creature shrieks in frustration. It's fast, but painfully predictable. Asher creates a fake opening, and the creature falls for it, lunging right into a prepared trap, a jagged earth spear that erupts from the ground. As the spear impales the monster, Asher scoffs. That was a feint, you fool. It's pure instinct versus cold, hard technique. The creature only knows how to swing with its full power, unable to recognize the most basic tricks. He follows up, piercing its shoulder with another spear of rock. With a slight, almost disappointed smile, he says, "It's too weak to be called a masterpiece." The professor watches from the side, his face a mask of pure horror. How can this be happening? His magnum opus defeated in minutes. His life's work, his research notes, his theories on a new being that evolves through consumption, a creature designed for one purpose, die to continuously grow stronger. The true, neo-human. And yet, such a being was defeated so easily. It lies on the ground, trembling and broken. The professor desperately tries to rationalize. "No, the child only just awakened. It's hungry. If I just give it my arm, it can recover its strength. Then it can kill that mage, and I can escape." But his fantasy is cut short. The tip of Asher's staff presses against his throat. "There must be records," Asher says, his voice cold. "Where are the experiment logs?" His eyes narrow. "You called this thing your child. Hand over the logs or I'll finish it right here." The professor sighs in defeat. But then, a sliver of hope. This man is also a mage. If he sees the value in my research, he might let me live. He pulls out a blood-stained journal. "I wouldn't mind showing you. Then you'll see the true value of my work." Asher takes the book and flips through it, his expression unchanging. After a moment, he closes it and tosses it aside. "I don't think I'll need this." The professor is stunned. "What are you doing?" Asher explains calmly. "Biologically, this research is top tier, rivaling even the magic tower. But his blue eyes glow in the darkness. "It doesn't align with my goals. He has his own path to power. He won't follow another's twisted dream." Still, he glances at the notes again, picking up a few loose pages. Some of the information on stimulants could be useful. The professor panics. "Wait, you're just going to kill us like this?" Asher considers him for a moment. He could interrogate him about arcs and gluttony, but then he senses something. Jason is on his way. To avoid complications, I should end this now. Time to disappear. A golden magic circle expands from his staff. The professor begs for his life. "Wait, please, give me a chance." But Asher's only reply is a single word. "Ignite." A torrent of fire engulfs the room. The professor's screams are lost in the roar of the inferno. Just then, Jason arrives, panting. "Did you deal with the assassin?" he asks, seeing the fire. The bruised knight tries to sound tough. "I landed a solid blow." He must be in far worse condition than I am. Asher just looks at him. The way he's rambling means the assassin got away. He ignores Jason, his attention caught by one of the pages he saved. It's a map, showing a path from Martez into the nearby forest. He glances over at the bonfire he made of the evidence. Then what's this red mark? As he focuses on the symbol, a sharp pain lances through his head. He clutches his temple. A sudden headache and loss of strength, symptoms of mana exhaustion. He must have overdone it. He decides to think about it later. For now, it's time to leave. A few days later, a fragile peace has returned to Martez. The mayor was furious about the secret passage and placed the knights on high alert. But that is no longer Asher's concern. He has more important things to focus on. Vials of green liquid, mana circuit stimulants, created using the professor's own research. By pushing his body to its absolute limit, he shortened years of typical mage growth into just a few weeks. He breathes heavily, sweat pouring down his face, a look of grim satisfaction in his eyes. It's time to move on to the next stage. He's now reached the equivalent of a mid-rank 3 mage, growing stronger at an unnatural rate. Far away, in a lavish, dark room, a shadowy figure learns of the events in Martez. He swirls a glass of wine, his face hidden in shadow. So, the professor is dead, one less annoying thing to deal with. A sinister smile plays on his lips, and it was this Asher's who did it. I'll have to meet him in person. The battle is over, but for a man like Asher, the real work is just beginning. At the Martez Knights training grounds, he puts his new power to the test. His staff cuts through the air, but his mind is on the clues he salvaged from the fire. He thinks about the map he found. He followed it to an old, abandoned research lab deep in the forest. It was hidden beneath a giant tree, sealed by a complex lock. But inside, there was nothing, just dust and cobwebs. The place had been cleaned out long ago. All he managed to find were a few leftover materials. It was another dead end. No new information on the organization he was hunting. Still, preventing a disaster and getting some expensive leather was a decent outcome. Just then, Jason approaches. "Sir Asher, the mayor is looking for you." His next stop is City Hall. The mayor greets him warmly. "Asher, I owe you a great debt." Asher simply replies, "Not at all, sir." The mayor explains that thanks to Asher's help, they captured the remaining terrorists, though they took their own lives before revealing any information. Asher just smiles. "It's quite all right. It's better the citizens aren't worried." But this isn't humility. For Asher, reputation is a resource. To get the opportunities he needs to grow stronger, he must build a reputation as a reliable and powerful mage. With the fame of being the mage who saved the city, more high-level work should start coming his way. The mayor stands, ready to give Asher his real reward. He leads him through a massive, magically sealed door into the city's vault. "Here are the city's magical treasures." This is what Asher was waiting for. "As a reward," the mayor says, "you may choose one item, anything you wish." This is what he was truly after, a chance to acquire something far more valuable than money or fame. The vault is filled with legendary items, like swords made of pure mithril. Shelves are lined with high-quality arms, armor, and artifacts. Asher knows that chances like this are rare. He glances at a mithril sword but clicks his tongue in disappointment. A shame it's not a staff. When the mayor allows him to appraise the items, he's impressed by the young mage's skill. Asher begins his search, quickly scanning the items. A staff that increases casting speed, a cloak with minor resistances, a recovery ring. They're not bad, but what he already possesses is better. He considers just taking the mithril sword to sell, but then something else catches his eye. A small, simple ring glowing faintly in a display case. He picks it up. An ornate gold band with a large, green gemstone. But when he tries to appraise it, there's no reaction. It doesn't seem to be a magical item. The mayor tells him to take his time. Asher nods, continuing to scan the vault, his mind calculating. After a while, the mayor starts to get restless. This young mage is surprisingly meticulous. Finally, Asher makes his decision. "I'll take this one." He chooses a silver necklace with a blue gem, a necklace of protection which automatically casts a mana barrier. The mayor is surprised. "A fine choice, but it consumes a lot of mana. Are you sure?" Asher simply assures him it's no problem. But the mayor feels it's not enough for the man who saved their city. He makes a snap decision, holding out the mysterious green ring Asher had been eyeing. "Then please, take this as well." Asher is surprised, but the mayor just laughs. "You're the hero of Martez. One more item is nothing." As they leave, the mayor asks if he plans on leaving the city now. Asher looks down at the ring, a small smile on his face. "No, I plan to stay for a while. There's something I need to do here." But while Asher plans his next move, a new darkness stirs in the neighboring Byron territory. Deep within a mountain mine, a miner's pickaxe strikes something that isn't rock. He looks down, confused. Protruding from the dirt is a human skull. The miner screams. His coworker tells him to stop fussing, but the miner insists something is wrong. His pickaxe should have shattered it. The coworker just scoffs, kicks the skull away, and tells everyone to get back to work. But as he turns, the first miner's face drains of color. "Hey, behind you!" The skull rises into the air, its empty sockets glowing with a malevolent purple light. Bones burst from the ground, assembling into a full skeleton wreathed in dark energy. An undead. The foreman screams for everyone to run, but it's too late. The undead lash out with supernatural speed. The mine fills with the sounds of a slaughter. Soon, rumors began to spread. Undead had appeared in the Byron mine, an enemy that couldn't be killed. The entire territory was put on high alert. Terrified testimonies from the few survivors only fueled the growing fear. News of the tragedy spread by word of mouth. And a desperate messenger from Byron finally reached Martez, begging for aid. By the time the news reached Iris and her party, Asher was in the middle of a lesson, teaching her the basics of enchantment magic. A whole month had passed, and as a neighboring land fell into chaos, Asher had been quietly focused on one thing, getting stronger. Deep within a forest, something moves through the trees, its heavy footsteps rustling the leaves. Asher has been training with Iris, learning enhancement magic to cover one of his few weaknesses. An orc, all green muscle and sharp tusks, stalks through the undergrowth. Surrounded by a faint blue aura, Asher closes the distance in an instant. Staff held like a spear, he leaps forward, leaving a trail of blue energy in his wake. The orc roars, its jaw wide in a mix of fury and shock, but it's far too slow. Asher focuses his mana into a single, devastating point of red energy, striking the orc with a bone-shattering blow. Watching from a safe distance, Iris is in absolute disbelief. A mage just took down an orc in a bare-handed fight in 13 seconds flat. She's left staring, wondering just what kind of monster she's been teaching. Asher stands over the fallen orc, catching his breath. He already looks calm, analyzing his performance with a cold, focused expression. He turns to Iris with a faint smile, telling her the lessons really paid off, and thanking her for her help. Flustered, she waves her hands, insisting it was all him, that he would have figured it out on his own anyway. Asher reminds her that without her help, he would have been stuck after his books were burned. Iris blushes, thinking to herself that most people with his skill would be arrogant. But he's humble and undeniably handsome. She can't figure out why someone so perfect seems to have zero interest in romance. Her thoughts take a sharp turn as she gasps, wondering aloud if he might be into men. From across the clearing, Asher deadpans. No issues there. Iris jumps, mortified, stammering that she didn't mean it like that. He just tells her to keep those thoughts in her head and walks off, leaving her shouting that it's not like that at all. She chases after him, still trying to explain herself as they head back to the city, but their quiet training days are about to come to an end. Back at his residence, a visitor is waiting. Asher's expression immediately becomes guarded. The man is Oscar, the guildmaster of the Martez Adventurers Guild. His stern face and commanding presence make it clear this is not a friendly visit. The guildmaster gets right to it, stating he's here with a request. Asher recognizes the name. Oscar was in charge of the investigation when he was falsely accused. He knows this must be serious. Oscar explains that in Viran, a neighboring territory, a legion of undead has suddenly appeared in the mines. The sheer number of them is overwhelming the local forces. Hordes of skeletons with glowing red eyes are crawling out from the darkness. To make things worse, rumors are spreading that just getting near the undead can curse you, and the fear is keeping adventurers away. That's why Oscar came to him. He heard the rumors of Asher's power and needs someone who can handle a crisis of this scale. Asher thinks it over. He's already burned through a good chunk of his reward money from the last incident. He needs cash, and more importantly, a stronger reputation. This is the perfect opportunity. He accepts the request. As Asher's party prepares to leave, they're the talk of the guild. Other adventurers whisper about the crazy mage who's been training in close combat, noting how strange it is for someone so handsome and well-built. Iris walks up with a bright smile, asking if he's heard all the rumors about him. Asher, ever focused, simply glances at her and says he already knew. He then turns to her, his expression serious. He didn't expect her party to join this mission and asks if she isn't scared of the undead. Iris puffs out her chest, confidently declaring that, of course, she isn't. She dismisses the rumors of curses as nonsense that only scares kids. Besides, she explains, they're just here for support. It's a great chance to build their reputation without having to fight on the front lines. Behind her, her party members look far less certain. A tiny, almost unnoticeable smirk plays on Asher's lips. He knows she's just putting on a brave face. Looking toward the road ahead, he says he hopes it's a good opportunity, just like she said. The group sets out, leaving Martez behind for the troubled territory of Viran. A day later, their carriage rumbles along a dirt road cutting through the vast countryside. The other adventurers in the carriage look up at the sky. Asher has been flying the entire way, keeping his distance. They wonder how he has enough mana to sustain that for so long. One of the adventurers, a woman with dark hair, leans over to Iris and asks about her relationship with Asher, commenting on how close they seem. Iris blushes, explaining that you could call them a senior and a junior. She quickly tells the story of how her party was in serious trouble when Asher appeared out of nowhere and saved them all. And that, she finishes with a proud smile, is how they became close. High above, Asher glances down. His perception is so sharp he can hear every word of their conversation. The other mage is confused, asking if Asher is an academy alumnus. Iris stammers, trying to explain that he's more like a teacher, but they're not that far apart in age, leaving her friend completely lost. Suddenly, Asher's voice cuts through their chatter from above. He announces a group of undead has appeared ahead, chasing after some villagers. Without hesitation, his mana flares. "I'll go in first to provide support," he declares, diving toward the chaos below. From the air, the scale of the problem is staggering. A massive horde of skeletons swarms the field. He thinks to himself that even this far from the source, there are already so many. But this isn't a threat, it's a test. A chance to unleash everything he's been working on. He reaches into his cloak and pulls out a thick, ornate book. It's a spell book, one of the treasures he took from the Bohemian Magic Tower. A rare artifact that boosts a mage's power, but one that requires at least a high tier 3 rank to even use. Most spellbooks are already registered, but this one was untouched. For the past month, Asher has been inscribing it with a difficult, permanent magic circle called Connection. And now, it's time to see what his new weapon can really do. Asher's eyes glow as a massive, complex magic circle materializes on the ground below him. He activates his spell, Terrain Manipulation. With a surge of mana, a massive wave of blue energy erupts from him, washing over the entire battlefield. The adventurers in the carriage are thrown around as the ground shakes violently. One of them screams, wondering what on earth is happening. Villagers caught in the chaos scramble for their lives, crying for help as the very ground beneath them begins to twist and churn. Asher floats calmly above it all, his hand outstretched as he commands the raw power he's unleashed. The ground cracks and heaves. Huge pillars of rock shoot up from the earth, smashing into the undead legion. But he's not finished. He begins preparing 2 spells at once, Aerial and Flame. He executes a perfect double casting. 2 different magic circles appear as he fires a beam of pure fire down into the chaos. The blast hits the ground and erupts into a massive explosion, engulfing the remaining undead. The intense heat turns bone to ash in an instant. The battlefield is consumed by a raging inferno, wiping out what was left of the skeleton horde. The other adventurers watch from a distance, jaws agape in pure shock. One of them notes that after flying since yesterday, he still had enough power to cast magic on that insane scale. Asher lands gently on the scorched and broken earth, the battle already over. He looks at his spellbook, satisfied. The connection amplified his earth magic perfectly. All the time and energy he invested was worth it. He floats over the massive fissure he created, a scar torn across the landscape, a testament to his devastating power. Iris stares, trying to comprehend what she just saw. He's way beyond tier 3 at this point. His growth is monstrous. Suddenly, a cold, bony hand grabs her shoulder from behind. She spins around to see a lone, surviving skeleton, its red eyes glowing as it lunges at her. A scream, tears from her throat. But before it can land a blow, a blur of motion and a fiery blast obliterate the creature, sending its bones flying. Iris looks up, her heart still pounding, to see who saved her. A massive, shirtless man with spiky blonde hair stands before her, a heavy chain around his neck. He looks annoyed, asking what all the commotion is about. He scans the destroyed battlefield with a frustrated scowl. "Where did all my prey go?" he growls. Iris recognizes him instantly. The giant build, the platinum plate, it can't be. The man looms over them, his sheer size intimidating. He asks again where all his prey went. This is Gallahan, the platinum rank adventurer known as the Butcher. Iris, trembling slightly, stammers that if he means the undead, they're all gone. Gallahan's eyes narrow. "What?" he scoffs, saying there's no way she took care of all of them. He'd heard it was an undead legion. He can't believe dozens of them were wiped out without a single adventurer getting injured. His gaze drifts over and locks onto Asher, standing alone amidst the destruction. His eyes narrow. Did he do all that? Gallahan takes a heavy step forward, the ground seeming to shake with his movement. He walks right up to Asher, looking down at him. "Hey, gray hair," he says, his tone aggressive. "Was this your doing?" Asher's eyes glow with a cold blue light. He doesn't flinch, meeting the giant's gaze without an ounce of fear. "And what if it was?" he replies calmly. Gallahan's face twists into a scowl. "Those walking corpses were my targets," he snarls. "You stole them." He leans in closer, his voice dropping to a dangerous growl. "You touched my meal ticket, so at the very least—" The two men stare each other down, a tense silence hanging in the air as Asher's cool blue aura clashes with Gallahan's explosive golden energy. A powerful golden aura erupts around Gallahan, met by Asher's calm, rising blue energy. "So," Gallahan finishes, "you'd better pay up." Asher floats backward, putting distance between them. An equivalent price, he says coolly, a hint of amusement in his voice. Now, I'm curious what that might be. Gallahan watches him move, thinking that Asher's chosen the typical mage position, creating distance to cast spells from afar. Asher looks back, his expression unreadable, completely unintimidated. He can tell this man is serious about fighting him. A single thought crosses his mind. This should be fun. Gallahan's grin widens into a terrifying, bloodthirsty smile. His eyes glow with raw power. He's finally found someone worth his time. Iris's party leader panics, yelling that Asher is being reckless, that he can't possibly fight the Butcher. One of his teammates asks if the man is really that dangerous. Dangerous doesn't even begin to cover it, he replies grimly, explaining that Gallahan is notorious for his violent temper. A flashback shows Gallahan sitting calmly in a tavern, surrounded by beaten bodies. The story continues that a few years ago, Gallahan went on a drunken rampage and even crippled a knight who tried to stop him. Iris is horrified, realizing he committed a major crime and the guild did nothing. That's right. Her party leader explains that the guild needs Gallahan's strength far too much to ever hold him accountable. Suddenly, a new voice chimes in. A man with glasses, Gallahan's party mage, says it's unreasonable to apply the same rules to someone with a platinum rank. He introduces himself as Goad. Another party member, a ranger named Narian, sighs. She tells Goad to stop explaining and start trying to stop Gallahan, warning that a fight here could cause problems for their mission. Goad approaches Gallahan, trying to calm him down, explaining that Asher's party is probably here on the same request as they are. But Gallahan just brushes him off, determined to show them the clear difference in their skills. He even mutters that they could just say an undead ambush got them. Goad gives up and turns his attention to Asher. "Hey, you there," he says with a smug look. "You seem confident in your abilities." A wave of dense purple mana erupts from him, washing over the entire area. "Let me show you your place." Asher stands completely unaffected, a look of mild disappointment on his face. He analyzes the attack. Just simple magic pressure, mid-third tier at best. He sees Iris's party on their knees, struggling to breathe, and realizes this is how the technique is meant to be used. His eyes narrow, a faint blue glow flickering around them. Then, in a single, explosive instant, Asher unleashes his own mana. The wave of blue energy is so powerful, it sends Goad flying backward, out cold before he even hits the ground. Narian is stunned. He just broke through the pressure and knocked Goad out in one move. Gallahan watches, a bead of sweat on his temple. He knows Goad isn't just some random mage. He realizes this gray-haired kid is far stronger than he thought. He looks at Asher, who now radiates an immense power, and asks, "Hey mage, what's your name?" Asher's eyes glow brightly as he answers with a single word. "Asher!" A slow, sharp grin spreads across Gallahan's face. This is exactly what he was hoping for. He turns to leave, tossing a final comment over his shoulder. "See you in Viron." The confrontation ended quicker than expected. Asher and his team continue their journey, their carriage finally approaching the walled city of Viron. The adventurers look exhausted, delayed by the journey and the unexpected standoff. Asher knows that by clashing with a platinum-ranked adventurer, he's made a very powerful enemy. He glances back at Iris's party. They look shaken, wary of him now. But making enemies like this is just part of the path he's chosen. The next day, the assembled forces gather before the lord of the territory. "Thank you for responding to our summons," he announces. "This is Viron's lord, Farnod van Viron." Lord Farnod declares that they will now march on the Viron mines, flanked by his heavily armored troops. Their objective is simple: exterminate the army of undead. A group of clerics from the Luas Order stands ready, their faces grim. Gallahan's party stands at the front, ready for battle, as Lord Farnod offers a final prayer for their safety. The command is given to set off. The mission has officially begun. As they march, Gallahan falls into step beside Asher, a clear challenge in his eyes. He grins, leaning in. "Don't tell me you're nervous?" Asher doesn't even look at him. "I won't," he says flatly before turning his attention to the path ahead. More importantly, focus. In the valley before them, a tide of darkness appears. A massive, uncountable swarm of undead surges towards them. The clerics from the Lewis Order are the first to act, launching projectiles of holy magic into the horde. The projectiles hit with explosive force, shattering the front lines. A commander shouts orders to aim for the heads. The Viron knights charge forward, shields raised, as mages and clerics provide support from the rear. The battle has begun. Suddenly, a monstrous shape rises from the horde, a towering golem made of swirling, dark red blood. "It's a blood golem," someone screams. "Fall back!" The soldiers know ordinary blades won't work. They scramble to get out of its path as its massive fists loom over them. But Gallahan just smirks. He leaps high over the soldiers' heads, flying straight for the monster. "A blood golem, huh?" he laughs. "Perfect for a warm-up." He raises his fist, ready to strike. His fist, glowing with fiery energy, slams into the golem with incredible force. The impact is so powerful, it completely destabilizes the golem's liquid form. The blood golem explodes, dissolving into a shower of blood. Lord Farnod watches from the rear, amazed. "As expected of Gallahan the Butcher," he mutters, before wondering what on earth he's doing now. Gallahan stands over the remains of the golem, a wicked grin spreading across his face. He scoops up a massive chunk of the golem's bloody core and hurls it like a cannonball. The soldiers cry out, "That lunatic! Where is he throwing that?" The projectile flies across the battlefield, splattering directly in front of Asher and his party. Asher watches the display, his expression hardening. "How rude." Gallahan points at him from across the field, his voice a taunting roar. "If you're not going to show your real power, what are you even doing, Asher? Was everything yesterday just for show?" Gallahan lands atop the dead golem's remains, posing as if challenging him directly. Asher responds without a word. He casts terrain manipulation, and the ground around Gallahan erupts, sending jagged spikes of rock shooting into the air. His eyes glow, a flicker of flame reflecting in them as he prepares his next spell. He casts Fireball. A massive sphere of fire slams into the rock spikes, incinerating them in a brilliant explosion. Iris shouts his name, shocked. Her party members can't believe he just cast 2 large-scale spells, back to back, in an instant. Gallahan roars with laughter. "You look soft, but you've got a nasty temper," he yells, his axe glowing with power. "But that's what I like." Asher watches the explosion, a hint of disappointment on his face. He thinks to himself, did he not get caught up in that? That's a shame. Gallahan, now fully energized, points his axe at the endless horde. "Whoever takes down the most undead wins," he declares, before charging headfirst into the fray. Their competition has officially begun. Now, the Viron garrison stands guard at the entrance to the mines, a dark, foreboding maw gaping in the mountainside. Thanks to the overwhelming power of Asher and Gallahan, the subjugation force reached the mines with far fewer casualties than anyone had dared to hope. But the tunnels inside are narrow and cramped, too tight to send in the entire army. Instead, a small elite team has been assembled, including Asher, Iris, a cleric, and members of the garrison, ready to descend into the darkness. Only a select few were chosen to venture into the heart of the enemy's lair. Gallahan throws a heavy arm around Asher's shoulder, laughing loudly. "You fought pretty well earlier," he booms. "Although not as well as me, of course." Annoyed, Asher just glares and tells him not to get so friendly. As Asher walks away, Gallahan calls after him, saying they fought side by side and shouldn't be so cold. Watching from a distance, Goad grits his teeth, wondering what Gallahan could possibly see in a guy like that. His mind flashes back to their earlier confrontation, to the humiliation he suffered at Asher's hands. He remembers unleashing his monopressure, a technique he had always been proud of. But that guy, Asher's power had felt like a colossal, unstoppable wave, completely dwarfing his own. In an instant, his magic had been utterly crushed. Goad knows the rumors say Asher is a third-tier mage, just like him. But he's certain that's a lie. Asher is hiding something far greater. He clenches his fist, muttering under his breath, "Obnoxious jerk." A commander announces that the Viron garrison will wait at the entrance, and the small strike team heads into the dimly lit tunnels of the mine. The commander wishes them luck as the chosen few prepare to face whatever lies in the darkness ahead. Asher observes their formation. Leading the group is Gallahan's ranger, Nerian. When a skeleton lunges from the shadows, she's already moving to intercept it. He notes her skill. She's definitely worthy of the gold rank. leading the way and dispatching threats before they can even become a problem. And it's not just her. Everyone in the party is handling their roles perfectly. The cleric provides holy support, Iris casts from the rear, and the warrior at the front acts as a solid tank. This, Asher realizes, is the advantage of a true party. A coordinated unit is far more effective than a group of powerful individuals. But still, as they venture deeper, a sense of unease creeps over him. He can't explain why, but something feels wrong. The air grows heavy, thick, with a dark, oppressive energy. Suddenly, the vanguard calls out, "Stop! This looks like the end of the mine." They've reached a large, open cavern. Asher considers using a mana detection spell, but worries it might alert a powerful lich to their presence. Nearby, a cleric mutters prayers to calm the nervous soldiers. Iris notices his tense posture. "Asher, is something wrong?" she asks quietly. Before he can answer, Gallahan appears beside him, his face uncharacteristically serious. "You're clearly tense," he says. "Did you catch the scent of death, too?" Gallahan continues, saying he can't pinpoint it, but he knows a powerful undead is nearby. He grins. "I came here for fun, but to think something other than you would pique my interest." Iris gulps at the words, "powerful undead." Asher glances at her, confirming Gallahan's hunch. As annoying as it is, the butcher's instincts are spot on. He tells her to stick close to him when the fighting starts. Now Iris is even more worried. If even Asher is this cautious, what are they about to face? Asher admits he doesn't know yet. Just then, shouts echo from another part of the cavern. A group of soldiers has found something. "Hey, there's light coming from the end of the mine." Asher walks over to the commotion, asking the knight in charge what's going on. The knight, flustered, explains they were just checking for other tunnels, and they found a passage with a bright light shining from the other side. Asher is immediately suspicious. There shouldn't be any other exits from this mine. Light, this deep underground, it makes no sense. A brilliant, almost divine light floods the dark passage, beckoning them forward. As the soldiers step through, they gasp in shock. What in the world is this place? The entire strike team follows, emerging into a vast cavern that was clearly never part of the original mine. A single beam of light from the ceiling illuminates a massive, ancient tomb. Piles of bones litter the ground, and at the center, a skeletal figure sits on a throne of bone. One of the adventurers recognizes a crest on the skeleton's armor. Wait, isn't that the royal emblem of Estria? The name clicks in Asher's mind. He's currently in the Riviante Duchy. The Riviante Duchy declared independence from the Kingdom of Estria long ago. So finding a royal Estrian emblem here is extremely strange. Goad is just as confused. He realizes this place isn't what it seems. He starts to panic. He completely missed this in his preliminary research. His reputation for intelligence gathering is on the line. He can't afford another embarrassment after being so easily beaten by Asher. Gallahan, however, is unfazed. "If we just eliminate it, that's all that matters, right?" he says, cracking his knuckles. Goad quickly steps in front of him. "I'll handle this," he declares, desperate to regain some pride. He pushes up his glasses, trying to look composed. "There's no need for you to bother with a mere undead. I'll handle it myself." A commander from the Lewis Order gives a command. "Clerics, begin purification." A wave of holy energy flows from their hands toward the dormant skeleton. Asher watches, analyzing. An undead knight. Could it be a death knight? If it hasn't awakened, maybe they can weaken it with purification first. But the holy magic just fizzles out, having little to no effect. Suddenly, the skeletal figure on the throne summons a massive boulder from the ceiling and hurls it down with a spell. The boulder crashes into the ground, and before anyone can react, the skeleton's eyes flash open, glowing with a terrifying red light. Asher flinches. He felt that. A wave of immense, dark energy just washed over all of them. The purification magic evaporates completely. The figure is now fully awake. Its red eyes stare down at them, filled with ancient malice. It slowly raises a bony hand, its fingers sharpened into deadly claws. In a flash, it moves. Goad barely has time to react as a clawed hand closes around his face, lifting him off his feet. The creature slams Goad into the ground. "What was that? It moved so suddenly," Gallahan shouts. He can tell from its speed and power this is no ordinary undead. "Is it a death knight?" the cleric from the Lewis Order cries out in terror. "That's not a death knight. It's a wailing knight." Asher looks on, unfamiliar with the term. The cleric explains that, while it's weaker than a Death Knight in a one-on-one fight, the Wailing Knight is dangerous for a completely different reason. Its true power is revealed as a dark red aura spreads from its body, causing the skeletons on the ground to rise, their eyes glowing red. It can command other undead. Asher understands immediately. Then, our course of action is clear. Galahad looks over, waiting for the plan. Asher raises his staff, which begins to glow with a brilliant golden light. Let's take down the Wailing Knight. But before that, he says, his eyes blazing with power, I'll reconstruct the terrain in this area to neutralize the enemy's advantage in numbers. He slams his staff into the ground. Iris watches, her eyes wide with shock. The entire cavern begins to shake violently. People scream as the ground beneath them cracks and shifts. Iris shouts his name, while Galahad stares, wondering if Asher is trying to steal the kill. The ground splits apart, creating a deep chasm that separates the main party from the Wailing Knight and its personal guards. Asher calls out to Galahad, his voice echoing in the collapsing cavern. Let's think rationally. We'll each have plenty of enemies to fight down there. I'm sure there's more than enough for you to handle. On the other side of the chasm, Iris's party finds themselves surrounded by reanimated skeletons, and they prepare for battle. Asher's voice rings out again. In the meantime, I'll take on. Galahad and the clerics are now isolated on their side, facing a smaller group of skeletons. Asher lands on the floor of the chasm, alone. He looks up at his target, his expression cold and determined. The Wailing Knight. Asher's voice is calm, but his intent is absolute. I'll handle it. The knight lunges, a blur of motion with its massive sword swinging down. Asher dodges, his own focus sharpening for the fight. He leaps into the air, multiple magic circles materializing around him as he unleashes a volley of multi-flame arrows. The basics are simple. Undead are weak to holy power and fire. The arrows explode against the knight's armor in a brilliant burst of flame. But the knight emerges from the inferno completely unfazed. Asher realizes this thing is far tougher than a normal undead. Then I'll just have to go harder, he thinks. He gathers an immense amount of fire mana into a single point, creating an arrow of scorching heat that streaks through the air like a meteor. But the knight simply bats the attack aside with one hand, the explosion barely scratching its armor. Seeing an opening, Asher forms a spear of pure fire and thrusts it directly into the knight's chest. The fire spear burns brightly, melting a hole straight through its ribcage. But instead of falling, the knight retaliates instantly, swinging its massive sword with incredible speed. Asher is shocked. It's not just durable, it's relentless. Asher raises his staff, reinforcing it with a mana shield. He knows if he misjudges this block, his shield could shatter. If that happens, he won't be able to dodge the next strike. The knight swings, its immense power threatening to overwhelm him completely. A chilling blue aura surrounds it, wave and winter gust, double casting. The cavern is filled with an arctic cold. If fire doesn't work, I'll crush it with sheer weight. He focuses his mana, calling upon the earth. 3 massive spears of rock rise from the ground, combining into one gigantic projectile. He launches the earth spear directly at the knight's head, putting all his remaining power behind the attack. Just before impact, a strange, garbled voice echoes through the cavern. Go back. I have to go. A massive wave of red energy erupts from the knight's body, shattering the earth spear into dust. Asher stares in disbelief. It didn't just deflect the spear. It feels like something else entirely. The knight's form begins to twist and change. Its armor becomes darker, more jagged, and a powerful red aura explodes from its body. It's transformed. And at the worst possible moment, Asher feels his mana reserves bottoming out. Asher knows with his mana gone, he's a sitting duck. At this rate, he's finished. He braces for the final blow. But just before the knight reaches him, the ground beneath its feet cracks and shatters. It's Galahad. He intercepts the knight with a powerful flying kick, sending it staggering back. He lands with a grin, shouting, "I'm not giving up the main dish." Meanwhile, up above, Iris's party leader peers down into the chasm. The rest of the undead have been dealt with. They stand among the shattered remains of the lesser skeletons, catching their breath. The leader says they all made it out alive, but admits it would have been impossible without the gold-ranked ranger, Narien. Gode, still nursing his injuries, scoffs at that. The knight quickly adds that of course he's worthy of being Galahad's teammate too. But Iris only has one concern. She looks over the edge and asks if the others are okay. One of her party members tells her this isn't the time to worry about others. They need to figure out how to escape. The party realizes their situation is dire. They're trapped. If Asher and Gallahan go down, they're all getting buried alive in this tomb. Suddenly, the ground rumbles again. "What is that?" someone yells. Down below, the fight rages on. The transformed knight is exchanging furious blows with Gallahan. Gallahan's fist glows with immense power as he channels his energy. He lands a direct punch, the impact sending shockwaves through the knight's shadowy form. But the knight catches his arm, its grip like iron. It creates a sword from its own dark energy and prepares to strike. Gallahan meets the blow with his forearm, the impact creating a blinding flash of light. He holds his ground, pushing back against the immense pressure. He grabs his axe, ready to retaliate. He swings with all his might, a clean, powerful strike that sends the knight flying. From the cliffs above, everyone is watching, shouting their names. It's Asher and Gallahan fighting together. Asher watches, surprised that Gallahan managed to get down here and join the fight. Gallahan lands with a cocky grin on his bloodied face. "What? You could still move?" Asher says coolly. "You should have rested more." Asher cuts him off. Quiet and focus. He asks what Gallahan thinks of their opponent. Gallahan's grin widens. "It's tough as hell. To think a mere corpse could be this fun." Gallahan takes his stance. "I'll take the lead, so make your shots count." Asher nods. "I'll give it a shot." Gallahan leaps forward, his axe glowing, and unleashes a ground-shattering attack called Shatter, sending fissures racing across the floor to break the knight's footing. He follows up with a powerful kick, slamming his boot into the knight's chest. The kick connects with explosive force, staggering the beast. The knight's shadowy form recoils from the impact, but the knight summons skeletal minions from the ground, which latch on to Gallahan, trying to hold him down. Asher acts instantly, unleashing a massive mana explosion that vaporizes the minions. The wailing knight raises its arm. It's sent flying backward, its shadowy armor cracking under the pressure. Asher roars at Gallahan, "Move!" Without missing a beat, Asher unleashes another massive fire spell, engulfing the area. The explosion rocks the cavern, momentarily blinding everyone. The combined impact sends the knight flying across the cavern. The wailing knight, crackling with the dark energy of absorbed souls, lunges at Asher. Just before the blow lands, the protective necklace Asher carries flares to life, creating a powerful blue barrier. The impact is devastating. The barrier holds, but the sheer force of the attack shatters the ground around Asher. He staggers back, thankful the necklace activated without draining his already low mana. Still, his situation is grim. His mana is nearly gone, and his left shoulder was dislocated from the force of that last hit. But the biggest problem is the knight itself. Just before he could finish it, that black armor manifested. After transforming, it became so much stronger. From the cliffs above, the Luas order clerics prepare to intervene. "We'll join in," one of them shouts, as they conjure chains of golden, holy magic. The head cleric stares in disbelief. "What is that black armor?" He's never seen anything like it. There's no record of a wailing knight doing this, not even in the oldest archives. The holy chains shoot down and wrap around the knight, but its raw power is too much. It sends out a shockwave that knocks everyone off their feet. The chains of light shatter, their holy energy completely overwhelmed. The clerics are thrown through the air, crying out in shock. Gallahan catches two of them before they hit the ground, yelling at them for being so reckless. "I told you to hold on tight. Are you all trying to die together?" He drops them off and turns back to the fight, as Gode tells the others to get a grip and prepare to restrain the knight again. But Gode sees an opportunity. With the knight distracted, this is his moment. He thinks he can be the one to bring it down. "This time, I'll prove my competence for sure," he yells, launching his own earth spear at the knight. The knight doesn't even turn around. It casually swats the spear aside, then teleports in front of Gode, delivering a devastating backhand that sends him flying. Asher and Gallahan can only watch as Gode is taken out once again. Gallahan yells for the clerics to heal him. The knight turns its attention back to them, spinning like a top as it builds momentum for another attack. It unleashes its dark energy. Gallahan is slamming him against the cavern walls. Asher, still recovering, knows he can't keep this up for much longer. Gallahan, beaten but defiant, calls out to him. "You're going to fire a big one, right? How much more time do you need for your mana to recover?" Asher leans on his staff, thinking for a moment. A few seconds is enough. That's all Gallahan needs to hear. A wild, bloodthirsty grin spreads across his face. "Get ready, Asher," he roars. He charges headfirst at the wailing knight, pouring every last bit of his strength into buying Asher those precious few seconds. He slams into the knight. "I'll smash the spot that was pierced earlier," he screams. He's telling Asher to aim his magic at that exact point. He dodges a swipe and lands a devastating punch right on its chest. "A corpse should stay dead," Gallahan roars, unleashing a final, desperate burst of energy. His attack works. The armor over the hole completely shatters, exposing the knight's core. Asher sees his chance. It worked, but the victory is short-lived. The knight's shadowy armor reforms almost instantly. It retaliates, impaling Gallahan through the stomach with a blade of dark energy. The knight prepares to finish him off, its glowing red hand reaching for his head. But just as it's about to strike, Asher appears, intercepting the attack. "I'm your opponent," he says, his voice cold as ice. His eyes are locked on the knight's chest. The hole in its armor hasn't closed yet. He knows that if he focuses all his magic on that one weak spot, he can take it down. The knight sprouts demonic wings, preparing to unleash a wave of dark energy. But Asher is faster. He launches a combined attack of fire and ice, a swirling vortex of elemental energy. But he didn't cast the ice spell. He glances up at the cliffs. It was Iris. Her face is a mask of fear and determination, her staff still glowing from the spell she just cast. Asher remembers telling her during training that she had a talent for ice magic. She had promised to try her best so she wouldn't embarrass him. A faint, proud smile touches his lips. "Well done, Iris." "Thanks to you," he says, as his hand erupts in a massive ball of flame. Focusing all his recovered mana into a single point, Asher unleashes his ultimate flame magic, a torrent of fire that consumes the wailing knight from the inside out, finally bringing the battle to a decisive end. For a knight who had lost everything, a single promise was all that remained. A promise to return, not to a kingdom, but to the one person who made his world whole. He remembered the roar of battle, the belief that no matter how brutal it became, he would survive. He had sworn an oath to his family, his comrades, his people. He would always return to his homeland, under the flag he'd sworn to protect. That's what he'd always believed. But as he looked at his comrades, their faces were twisted not with courage, but with fear. The promise was already broken. In a quiet room, a man in ornate robes stood over him. There was no battlefield here, only the cold judgment of an order he once trusted. The man held up a hand, not in aid, but as a command to stop. A final, silent betrayal. He realized with dawning horror that they had learned something they were never supposed to know. A truth so dangerous it had cost them everything. Because of that terrible secret, they were cast aside, thrown into a pit filled with the bodies of their fallen brothers. As darkness swallowed him, his last sight was of the sky shrinking away. He knew then that he could never return. But even in death, his spirit screamed he must return. The face of his child, Lorien, flashed in his mind. And with that single agonizing memory, Asher's eyes snapped open. Iris and a priest are leaning over him, their faces etched with concern. "Are you awake?" the priest asks as Iris nervously calls his name. Asher sits up, his head swimming with another man's memories. He asks if the subjugation is over. The priest confirms it was a success, all thanks to him, explaining that Asher collapsed right after the battle. The priest points to the locket Asher is clutching, saying his collapse was likely because of it. It carries the same powerful, lingering will as the knight they just fought. Asher glances down at the locket, the image of the knight's son still fresh in his mind. The knight's sorrow, his rage, his regret, it's all swirling inside him now. The priest reaches for it, explaining they couldn't even pry it from his hand while he was unconscious. He warns it could be dangerous and asks him to hand it over. But Asher pulls his hand back sharply. "No," he says, his voice firm. "I'll keep this." The priest and Iris look completely shocked. The priest sputters, trying to warn him again. "But what if something happens?" Asher cuts him off, his gaze unwavering. He tells him it's fine, that there won't be a problem. He understands the weight of these memories better than anyone. Just then, Gallahan's booming voice cuts in. He laughs, calling the locket a modest trophy for a hard-won battle, completely missing the tension in the room. Asher changes the subject, asking about Goad. He's alive, grumbling about his bad luck, but he survived thanks to quick first aid. Asher simply says, "Then that's enough." He gets to his feet, grabbing his staff. The matter is settled. With everyone accounted for, he announces that it's time to go. The subjugation is complete. The golden light of morning breaks over the horizon, signaling the end of their long night. News travels fast. Back at the Viren Lord's estate, a report comes in that the undead commander has been defeated. The Lord, though shocked, wastes no time ordering the cleanup of the mine. And against all odds, every single person who entered that cursed mine made it out alive. The adventurers rest and recover in a large hall, finally safe. Galahad stands watch as the others sleep, but Asher can't rest. He sits alone on a rooftop under the full moon, the memories of the dead night still weighing on him. He looks out at the night sky, reflecting on the battle. Through this incident, he's realized one undeniable truth. He has grown stronger. He thinks to himself that real combat truly is the fastest way to grow. Even though he's still technically a third-tier mage, with his completed spellbook and his unique reverse heaven theory, he can already unleash magic on par with a fourth tier. Even so, as he stares at his hand, he knows he's still so far from reaching him, the magic tower master, Balrog Bessias, the man he has sworn to destroy. But there's no despair in his eyes, only fire. He clenches his fist, a silent vow echoing in his mind. He won't give up. He will reach him. As he leaps from the roof, a thought solidifies in his mind. This is why his path is called the reverse path. It's a climb against the natural order, fueled by pure will. Under the vast, starry sky, his journey continues. And so, with the morning sun casting a warm glow over the city, the undead incident in Viren finally came to an end. The priests of the Luas order decided to stay behind to monitor the mine. While the adventurers, their job done, pack up and set off for home, Iris and her party waving goodbye, cheerful and relieved. Just as Asher prepares to leave, Galahad walks up to him. "So, are you leaving now, Asher?" Galahad sizes him up, saying he doesn't seem like the type to be a regular adventurer. He asks if Asher is thinking of going to Grey. Galahad scoffs in disbelief. "You don't even know Grey?" he says with a smirk. "How are you planning to make money?" He teases him, calling him a sheltered mage. He explains that Grey is a black market information broker, a shadowy organization that arranges private requests outside the law. The word requests catches Asher's attention. His mind immediately starts connecting the dots. Galahad grins, pointing a thumb at himself. "It means there are more people like you than you think who want wealth and fame without being tied down by rules." Asher looks at him, suspicious. "But why are you telling me all this?" Galahad's grin widens. "We crossed the line of death together, didn't we?" He considers them comrades now, but Asher's deadpan expression says otherwise. Galahad continues. He explains that risky requests often mean strong opponents, more chances to get stronger. From a nearby carriage, a voice calls out, "They're leaving soon. It's Iris." She leans out, asking Asher if he's getting on, reminding him she still needs to ask him more about elemental magic. She sees him just standing there and asks why he's hesitating, worried he's still too injured to fly. Asher turns to her, and, for the first time, a small, genuine smile appears on his face. He thanks her for the enhancement magic she used in the final moments of the fight. His smile fades as he gives her one last piece of advice. "Keep training elemental magic like you've been doing." Iris is taken aback by the finality in his tone. "I have somewhere I need to go," he says simply. A farewell so sudden. He saved her life and taught her things she never could have learned at the academy. She knew from the moment they met that they would part ways eventually, but she never thought it would be today. But she accepts it. She knows she doesn't have the right to hold him back. So, she extends her hand for a handshake. Asher takes it. She looks at him, her expression a mix of sadness and determination, and says, "See you next time, Junior." A small smile plays on her lips, though a tear escapes her eye. "Yes, see you next time," she says, her voice bright despite the tears. She makes a promise, to him and to herself. "I'll work hard to become a junior you can be proud of." Meanwhile, far away, in a place crackling with overwhelming power, we see Rovelyn. Her voice cuts through the chaos, cold and full of rage, as she asks one burning question. Why is Black Hour targeting the Bohemern Magic Tower? On a path fueled by misplaced vengeance, a name echoes in the darkness. Black Hour. They are a shadowy group of mages who have strayed from the proper path, their symbol an all-seeing eye representing forbidden knowledge. And Ravelin has just torn their third secret base apart with a massive explosion of fire. But even after all this destruction, she's no closer to the truth. She flies through the fiery aftermath, frustrated that the grunts know absolutely nothing about why their group attacked the magic tower. Verdun, a memory of his younger face, gentle and kind, flashes before her eyes. He is the reason she fights, the reason she seeks this hollow revenge. Back in the present, her expression is hard, her resolve unshakable. Suddenly, a voice cuts through the air. Impressive, Rovelin. She looks down to see another mage floating below her. The man looks up at her with smug confidence, remarking on the immense power she can generate with just second-tier magic. He laughs, saying that those with unique traits are just built different. This is Lucard Maniacs, the third disciple of Mr. Valdek. Ravelin lands, annoyed. She reminds him that she said she'd handle this alone. But Lucard just brushes her off with a smile. He couldn't just send off someone who might become their master's fourth disciple all by herself. It's a compliment, layered with condescension. Rovelin tells him he should worry about his own thesis, reminding him this is his first one in 7 years. Lucard keeps smiling. She wonders aloud if he can stir up the same attention again. Lucard scoffs, asking if she seriously believes the false rumors from 7 years ago. Lucard leans in, about to accuse him of being jealous. Lucard's smile turns into a predatory grin. For someone so great, after 7 years of growth, to still be just a fourth-tier mage. With that final, devastating insult, Ravelin flies off, leaving her stunned and seething. Lucard's face twists in fury. How dare he? With Verdun gone, he thinks, no one will ever know the truth about that thesis. He can't let her emotions get the better of her and lose the Tower Master's favor. He has a plan. Once he reaches 5th tier, it won't be too late to get rid of him then. He lets out a dark laugh. Meanwhile, far from the politics of the Magic Tower, Asher is on a new path. Following Galhan's advice, he has arrived at the industrial city of Cohen. Cohen is a prosperous city, a place where people flock to find stable jobs and good security. But where there is prosperity, there is also poverty. The wealth gap is huge, and its slums are known as some of the worst in the entire duchy. And hidden somewhere in these slums is exactly what Asher is looking for. He walks through the grimy streets, the desperation a stark contrast to the bustling city center. Even the slums in Martes weren't this bad. His eyes scan the dilapidated buildings, searching for his destination. He finally spots it. A rustic building with a large arrowhead insignia hanging over the entrance. This is the information broker's front, Pale's arrowhead. The door creaks open as he steps inside, his hooded figure casting a long shadow. A man behind the counter tells him they're closed. But Asher cuts him off, delivering the code phrase, "I came here on the butcher's recommendation." The man's eyes widen. The man asks for his name. Asher pulls back his hood, revealing his face. Asher. The man nods, saying he looks just like the rumors described. Since the butcher vouched for him, they'll skip the formalities, and he points Asher toward a hidden passage. But he gives him a warning. Just so you know, don't even think about causing trouble, unless you want both of us to get real tired of this. Asher walks down the dark, dusty staircase, his footsteps echoing in the silence. He finds himself in what looks like a storage basement. As he looks around, a figure wrapped in bandages emerges from the shadows. In a raspy voice, the figure says, "This way, please, Mr. Asher," and leads him deeper into the underground complex. The guide leads him into a hidden tavern, bustling with shady-looking characters. Asher realizes there was a secret space hidden behind the simple storefront. As he walks through, he sizes up the patrons. 2 mages, an archer, 2 swordsmen, all skilled, all dangerous. He guesses they're all here for the same reason, to buy information or take on a request. The bandaged guide stops, telling Asher this is as far as he goes. The guide instructs him to go down below and wait in front of the counter. Asher does as he's told, waiting patiently in the even darker, more secluded area below. A voice greets him from behind a one-way mirror. "Nice to meet you, Mr. Asher." He sees his own reflection and the silhouette of a figure watching him. A man steps out from behind the counter. He's sharp and well-dressed, with green-tipped hair and glasses. He introduces himself as Pale, an information broker from Gray. Pale gestures for him to have a seat so they can talk. Pale reveals that Asher's record has been quite dazzling. He admits to investigating him, stating coolly that information is power, after all. Pale gets down to business, asking if he's here for a request or information. Asher replies simply, "I need both." But there's a catch. Pale explains that the requests and information they provide are divided by rank. Rank? Asher asks. He notices something strange. The documents Pale was holding just disappeared from his hands without any trace of magic. Pale explains that trading information carries great risk. It's only natural for them to judge a client's reliability and capabilities. He points a finger at Asher, making it crystal clear. In short, there are no exceptions to the rank system. Asher understands. He can't get the high-level information he needs about the Magic Tower right now. He'll have to take a request to raise his rank and earn some money. He asks if he can choose the request himself. Pale slides a survey across the counter, explaining they'll give him options after he fills it out. Asher picks up the pen. A simple procedure, but one that will set him on the next stage of his journey. After reviewing the form, Pale notes that Asher seems to lean more towards being an adventurer than a mercenary. In that case, Pale says with a confident smile, "There's a request that suits you perfectly." He pulls out a sealed blue envelope. He slides it over to Asher, telling him it's not much different from what he's been doing. It's a subjugation mission. Asher guesses it might be a mission to hunt demi-humans, but Pale gives him a sly grin. "There are those too, but not this time." Asher opens the letter. Pale's voice drops, filled with a hint of excitement. This time, the target is a magical beast, the Roar Wolf. A massive, shadowy wolf with glowing red eyes flashes in Asher's mind, crackling with dark energy. In a world crawling with monsters, killing them isn't just a job, it's an entire economy. And monster subjugation is usually handled by the official Adventurers Guild. It's a system that works. The nation needs monsters dealt with, and the guild provides the manpower. It's a clean relationship that keeps the territory safe. But sometimes a lord gets greedy and sends their own troops, keeping all the valuable materials for themselves. If that happened too often, the guilds would go out of business. But cutting out the guild has a serious downside. A lord's personal troops are rarely enough to handle a real threat. If they're overwhelmed, the territory becomes a breeding ground for monsters, creating an even bigger problem. That's why there's an unspoken rule. Unless it's an emergency, the guild gets first dibs on monster subjugation. It's a delicate balance. But people are always greedy, and the vocal cords of a roar wolf, used to craft powerful magic items, are one of the most valuable materials out there. So, when a lord wants something valuable without going through official channels, they turn to the brokers of Grey. And it's people like Asher who take on these secret, high-stakes requests. They solve the problem discreetly for the right price. Asher's eyes glow with a cold blue light, his fist clenched. He is ready. And this shadowy business is exactly what he's doing right now. In a forest clearing, a pack of wolves lies slain on the ground. A group of soldiers stands guard as two men inspect the scene. It's Pale, the information broker, and his client, a stern-looking nobleman. Pale looks pleased. He turns to Asher and tells him he did a splendid job. The massive corpse of the Roarwolf lies perfectly preserved at their feet. The client, however, is a bit more skeptical, looking Asher up and down. He mutters that Asher doesn't seem like an ordinary third-tier mage. The client recounts how Asher wiped out the entire pack of normal wolves with a single wide-range attack. And when it came to the main target, the Roar Wolf, he didn't just rush in. He took his time, carefully and precisely finishing it off, all so that the precious vocal cords remained completely intact. The level of control was beyond anything he expected. Pale confirms it. The job was done 2 days ahead of schedule, and the materials are of the highest possible quality. "I like it," the client says, a rare smile appearing on his face. He's more than satisfied. Pale pushes up his glasses with a smirk. "Yes," he thinks to himself, "I got a good arrowhead." He knew Asher was a valuable asset from the start. Back in the industrial city of Cohen, life goes on. Asher is in a workshop, speaking to a burly craftsman who grins, asking if he's satisfied with the work. Asher confirms that he is. He tries on his new gear, a stylish black cloak with a blue lining over sleek, light armor. He came to the right place. Asher recalls requesting that the rare Mabat leather he acquired be made into a custom set of armor. The craftsman was shocked when Asher presented the glowing, magic-infused material. But that wasn't all. He had also asked the craftsman to restore a mysterious, damaged ring he'd received back in Martez. Back in the present, the craftsman pulls out the restored ring, explaining the delicate process. Asher asks to see it, a blue magic circle appearing as he casts an appraisal spell. He can tell it's a magic item, but the damage is still too severe to read its effects. Interesting. He tells the craftsman to fully repair it, no matter the cost. The craftsman agrees, telling him to come back in 2 weeks. After that, Asher made Cohen his base of operations, taking on a steady stream of requests from Pale. The system was simple. Pale gave him a job, Asher completed it and got paid. He hunted wanted criminals, suppressed bandits, and even fought top-class mercenaries. The work was dangerous, but profitable. After a full month in Cohen, the ring's repair was finally finished. It's now a beautiful, ornate band with a large, glowing green gem. But even fully restored, he still couldn't figure out its effect. Seeing no other option, Asher decides to try and repair its core function himself and heads out into the city streets. Suddenly, a small girl runs right into him, not looking where she's going. Ah, crap. Before she can fall, Asher reacts instantly, casting a quick spell to catch both her and her dropped treats in midair. An old woman, her grandmother, rushes over, apologizing profusely. Asher simply kneels down and tells her it's fine. He says the child seems okay and turns to leave, but the grandmother stops him. She offers to read his fortune as a reward. Asher looks skeptical. The little girl tugs on his cloak, insisting her grandma's predictions are super accurate. Asher sighs and relents. If you insist. He sits down at her small fortune-telling stall. The old woman chuckles, wondering what kind of fortune a handsome mage could have. Asher thinks it's just superstition, but decides to humor her. She shuffles the cards and lays 3 of them on the table, but as she looks at them, she freezes. A shocked gasp escapes her lips. Asher asks what it says. The woman's face is pale, her hands trembling. She forces a smile and lies. It's a good fortune. It says you just have to keep living as you are. He thanks her and walks away. She watches him go, wishing him a safe journey, her face a mask of worry. Once he's gone, her granddaughter asks what the mage's fortune really said. The old woman hesitates. Well, the memory of the cards flashes in her mind, her expression turning grim. She had drawn 3 of the most powerful cards, human, representing life, death, and God, symbolizing birth. But all of them were reversed, a sign of pure chaos, a soul that has completely strayed from its destined path. There is no future to glimpse in chaos. She thinks about the 2 possible outcomes for a man with such a fate. He may vanish, achieving nothing, or he could obtain everything and rule over the entire world. She had just read the fortune of a man with truly infinite potential. And as she stares at the city, she can only pray that his potential doesn't bring darkness to the world. Elsewhere, in a remote, snowy landscape, an old astrologer is observing the heavens. A brilliant new star flares in the night sky. The astrologer is stunned. What on earth is that star? He's never seen anything like it. Nothing can be read from it directly, yet it's warping the fates of everything around it. Stars that should have fallen are remaining in the sky, and fates that should have been unshakable have simply vanished. The shock sends a jolt through his body. He clutches his chest, coughing up blood. He whispers a desperate plea, "Please, may that reverse. Heaven star, not twist my fate." In the vast, silent expanse of a snow-covered mountain range, the air is crisp and cold, shimmering with latent magic. Asher takes a deep breath. He's a long way from the grimy streets of Cohen now. After finally unlocking the map hidden inside the mysterious ring, he left the city and headed for the remote, barred mountains. He has no idea what lies at his destination, only that it's important enough to be magically sealed. It's been 3 weeks since he left, and he didn't even tell Pale where he was going. Worried that Gray's informants might be watching, he avoided using any flashy magic, traveling the long, hard way by carriage. And now, he's finally arrived. So this is a village in the Barred Mountains. He looks down at a small, snow-dusted town nestled in the valley below. It's peaceful, isolated. As he walks through the quiet village, he notices a group of 3 people in matching green cloaks. They seem out of place here. He thinks to himself that his final destination, a forest, is nearby, and he should hire a local guide. Just then, he bumps into one of the hooded figures. A girl's voice calls out, "Oh my, did you see that?" She pulls back her hood, a sly grin on her face. Her eyes are sparkling. That guy just now, totally my type. She practically bounces with excitement, asking her companion if she can go talk to him. The stern-faced man Cardon just sighs, telling her she's acting crazy again. Another member of their group snaps at her. Quiet, Ferris. No personal actions are allowed until the mission is over. But Ferris just whines. Cardon tells her to focus. Then we better hurry and find the traitor and kill him, she chirps happily. The third member, a young man named Chen, looks confused. Kill who? Chen suddenly explodes in frustration. You brats! Talking about killing someone so casually? He seems to be the only one with a conscience. The leader just gives a sinister smile and tells Chen to take care of them. Dark energy swirls around him and his companions. These are no ordinary mercenaries. 4 days later, Asher is deep in a forest near the mountains, sitting by a campfire. He lets out a frustrated sigh. After all this time searching, he's found absolutely nothing. The local hunter he hired is already exhausted, and no matter how many times Asher scans the area with mana detection, nothing shows up. He wonders if he should just tear the whole forest apart. A spark of blue magic flares in his hand, but then his sharp eyes catch something. He notices that at regular intervals, some of the trees have a slightly different color to their bark. It's a pattern. He realizes he'd flown overhead multiple times, but never noticed the subtle visual cue. Looking again, it all clicks into place. No wonder I couldn't find it, he says to himself. The entire massive forest is one giant concealment, magic circle. The sheer scale is breathtaking. He wonders who could create a barrier of this level. He pinpoints the tree in the very center as the core of the circle. He estimates it would take an hour to dismantle, but he doesn't have an hour. He channels his mana, a bright spark forming at his fingertip. I'll break the core within that time, he declares, unleashing his power. Elsewhere, the old astrologer gasps as Asher's chaotic energy rips through the fabric of fate once more. Inside a hidden library, the old man comes to, slumped over in his chair. Did I pass out again? He grabs a potion and chugs it down desperately. But even this powerful potion isn't working well anymore. Still, he tells himself, he must endure. He knows the time for the world to change is near. Suddenly, he hears footsteps behind him. He whips around in a panic. Who's there? He yells, assuming his enemies have found him. Don't tell me you were sent by Black Hour. A calm voice answers from the shadows. I don't know why you'd say their name, but no. Asher steps out of a dark tunnel. I simply followed this ring here. He holds up his hand, the green gem glowing faintly. The old man stares, his eyes wide with disbelief. Ring? He recognizes it immediately. Wait, that's the crescent. The shock is so great he stumbles back, coughing up blood. Leaning against a chair, he asks weakly, Where on earth did you get that ring? But Asher's mind is already racing. He realizes this is no ordinary old man. He demands an explanation. First, please explain why you're here. The old man collects himself and sits down, a wry smile on his face. Cautious. I like that. He agrees to explain everything. But first, he has a question of his own. How did you pass through the barrier? Asher replies coolly that he dismantled the magic circle in 4 hours. The old man is utterly floored. Wait, you broke it in just 4 hours? At your age, you already have that level of skill? Asher ignores his shock and holds up the ring again. So, I'll ask again, what exactly is this ring? The old man looks at the twin ring on his own finger. You could say it's fate, he says softly, the fate that connected you and me. He reveals that he lost that ring 15 years ago. He introduces himself. My name is Harkan Dazist. He explains that he is a 5th-tier Grand Mage, a sage skilled in alchemy, magic circles, and astrology. And he had a single friend, a powerful mage who had reached the legendary 6th tier, who suggested they establish a magic research society together. Yes, Harkan says, a dark look in his eyes. That was the beginning of Black Hour. What began with just a few members grew to over 100. The world both admired and feared their knowledge and power. Their combined strength was enough to overwhelm a small nation. But Harkan insists his friend never led them down a path of conquest. They remained a society of pure magic scholars, until he died. Harkan relives the memory, the shock still raw. What is the meaning of this? Day hit, he screamed. The one who killed his friend was their own disciple, a man they had raised together. The disciple, Dahit Wezroel, just stood there with a chilling smile. "What do you think?" he said calmly. "I'm taking control of Black Hour." Harkan explains they were all blinded by Dahit's talent, by his potential to reach the unheard-of 7th tier, and failed to see his twisted nature. In a brutal coup, most of the original members were killed or crippled. Harkan himself barely escaped with his life, but his mana circuits were completely severed. And so, for 15 long years, he has lived in this hidden sanctuary, his heart burning with the desire for revenge. And now, Harkan says, looking Asher straight in the eye, "I stand here face to face with you." So the Black Hour that Asher knows, the one committing atrocities, isn't Harkan's. The old sage confirms it, admitting that even his future sight only ever gave him vague, fragmented glimpses of what was to come. All he could do was leave a clue, a pair of rings, and wait, hoping the crescent would one day guide the right person to his door. His gaze locks onto Asher, burning with an unwavering conviction. "You," he declares, "are the one destined to save the world from a great evil." But this grand prophecy means nothing to Asher. His eyes are cold, calculating. A hero's burden isn't his concern. He cuts straight to the point. A task like that must have its price. What's in it for me? A faint, weary smile touches Harkan's lips. He wasn't expecting a hero, and he didn't find one. "Promise me," he says, "and I, Sage Harkan, will give you everything I've ever accomplished." A lifetime of accomplishments. The weight of that offer is something Asher can barely comprehend. He's not driven by some grand purpose. His entire world is fueled by a singular, burning rage for Balrog Basayas and the Magic Tower. It's a personal grudge, nothing more. Yet here stands Harkan, ready to set aside his own revenge for the sake of the world. It's a kind of selflessness that feels completely alien to Asher. He has to know what such a man could possibly offer. So, what exactly are these accomplishments you're talking about? But before Harkan can answer, a sudden presence snaps them to attention. Both men whip their heads toward the entrance. Asher's eyes narrow. "Looks like we have company." Silhouetted against the light at the cave's entrance stands a man in a green cloak. His voice drips with menace. "Finally found you!" Two more figures appear behind him, one of them grinning with a disturbing, sadistic glee. Harkan stammers, "Who are you people?" Asher remains calm, recognizing the intruders from the village. The leader steps forward, his eyes fixed on the old man. "You're Harkan Dazist, aren't you?" The traitor of Black Hour. The name ignites Harkan's fury. "Black Hour? Did Dahit send you?" The assassin, Cardan, just sneers as dark mana flares around him. "Show some respect when you speak his name. Watch your mouth, I was his master." Harkan roars. He knows they couldn't have broken his powerful barrier alone, and demands to know if Dahit himself is here. Cardan scoffs. Their great one wouldn't waste his time on a washed-up old man. He holds up a magical compass, explaining that a mana-tracking artifact led them right to him, much to Harkan's shock. "Why now?" Harkan demands. "After all these years, why hunt me down now?" Cardan dismisses his questions, ready to get to the point. His gaze shifts, landing on Asher. "Not long ago," he begins, "the Magic Tower fell." The Bohemian Tower, he explains, collapsed completely, taking countless mages with it. An event completely unprecedented in the history of magic. And someone, Cardan growls, his face twisting with rage, pinned the blame on us. Now, the Tower Master's elite squad is hunting them, and their leader thinks Harkan is the culprit. "So, was it you?" Harkan bursts out laughing. "If I had that kind of power," he scoffs, "you fools would have been gone long ago." But as he speaks, Asher steps forward, a blue magic circle already flaring to life around him. Triple casting. In a single, fluid motion, he unleashes 3 spells at once, a flame barrier for defense, a gale to boost his speed, and a volley of ice spears that rocket toward the assassins. The battle erupts, and Asher's mind is already racing. The Magic Tower and Black Hour are at war. This chaos could be the perfect opportunity for him. The assassins are caught off guard. One of them questions if Harkan has a disciple, but the woman with the wild grin just shrugs. "Never heard of one. Doesn't matter. We'll just get rid of him too." Her eyes gleam with a manic light as she sizes Asher up. "So," she asks her leader, "can I add him to my collection?" "That face!" she shrieks, lunging forward, wreathed in golden flames. "It's perfect for my collection!" Asher calmly analyzes her attack. It's a fourth-tier flame wall. Without missing a beat, he conjures a powerful purple magic circle to counter. A massive explosion rocks the library as her own attack is violently deflected back at her, sending her flying across the room. Her teammates are stunned. This kid can handle advanced attributes. Asher, meanwhile, has already identified their abilities, wind and telekinesis. He quickly assesses them. The silver-haired man is likely a mid-level, fourth-rank mage. The woman rushes at him again, her body consumed by fire. "Let me give you a warm hug," she yells. "I'll pass," Asher responds flatly. He slams his hand on the ground, and a massive spear of earth erupts from the floor, violently knocking her aside. Carden is impressed. Triple casting with multiple elements is no small feat, but judging by the raw power, the kid is only a third-tier mage. And yet, his mana intimidation had no effect. A mage of that level should have been paralyzed instantly. Ferris picks herself up, looking confused at the shattered remnants of the earth spell. But before she can react, a new threat emerges. A skeletal lich lunges directly for Harkon. Asher moves in a blur. He grabs the lich by its skull, spins around, and uses the distracted Ferris as a human shield, plunging a magically formed dagger into her. Carden can't believe his eyes. He broke a fourth-tier spell with third-tier magic and then ruthlessly used an enemy as a shield. Who is this kid? Asher doesn't give them a moment to breathe. He slams the injured woman into the ground, leaps into the air, and prepares another powerful spell. He lands lightly on his feet, staff at the ready. He's good, but he knows he's still outnumbered. Ferris staggers to her feet, absolutely furious. "You filthy pest!" she screams, summoning a massive stone wall. But Asher's non-elemental magic shatters it like glass. Cardan can only watch in disbelief. Ferris has lost all composure. "Forget the collection," she snarls. "I'm going to end him." Asher turns to Harkan. "We need to move. I can't protect you and fight them at the same time." But the old sage just tells him he's held up well enough. Harkin begins to channel a massive fire spell of his own. "Hey," he says with a grin, "you can fly, right?" With a roar, he unleashes a gigantic explosion that blows a hole straight through the ceiling. Asher grabs the old man and leaps through the opening, landing on a rocky outcrop high above the library. He spots a cave entrance nearby. Over there. Inside the cave, Harkan collapses, coughing violently from the strain. Asher looks around the unfamiliar space, asking what it is. Harkan catches his breath and leads him to a hidden door. "This," he explains, "is a path for someone who breaks the rules of magic and forges their own way. A true mage," he finishes, pushing the door open to reveal his real laboratory. He walks over to his desk and picks up a small vial containing a glowing blue liquid. "Take this," he says, holding it out to Asher, whose eyes are fixed on the strange potion. "This is his masterpiece," Harkan explains. "A potion he spent over 5,000 days creating, infusing rare herbs with pure moonlight and starlight. He tells Asher that drinking it will grant him power over attributes never seen before, allowing him to step into a realm no mage has ever reached. There are no side effects," Harkan adds with a confident smile. "A fate that doesn't suit you will simply pass you by." Then the great sage gets on his knees and bows his head. "Time is short. I won't beg for your pity. Please, just accept it." Asher takes the potion, his mind racing. Is his fate truly predetermined? He wants to see for himself. Just holding the vial, he can feel an unfamiliar magic flowing through him. This is the true result of a sage's life work. He concludes that Harkan has no reason to harm him. He can be trusted. But just as he's about to drink it, Harkan speaks up again. "Let me correct one thing." Asher pauses, the potion halfway to his lips. Harkan looks at him, his expression serious. There is no such thing as a predetermined fate in this world. Asher uncorks the bottle. As a mage and an astrologer, Harkan had seen countless possible futures, but only now did he understand the truth. A strange vision flashes through his mind, a single, triangular eye staring back at him from the cosmos. He finally understood. There was no such thing as a destined path. Asher drinks the potion, and his body erupts in a blinding explosion of pure energy. Harkan shields his eyes, but he recognizes the power instantly. It's the essence of starlight itself. And in that moment, Harkon finally understands the strange distortion of fate he had always sensed. The one bright, chaotic star he had seen in the heavens, it was the young mage standing right before him. He wasn't just following destiny. He was the star that defies the heavens.